welcome to Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Jason Hornsby, Christoph Fournier, John Travolta, JMels24, Yu Unimento, M, Iron26, Endless, Golden McKiernan, Retro Bill, More Books, Canna Bear, Vibrotes, Bogey, Michael Kahn, Rob H, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Will Brax, Mel B Styles, Troy Shuker, Harry Blade, Mobile Max 777, Neo the One, Rob W, Open Minded, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Maria Neelands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, The Real Gabster, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
Right, but you gotta get there too. You gotta do your research and find out for yourself.
Yeah, but when you don't compare it to other things, you'll only get there one way. I've looked at many cultures, and I see the parallels. So
Right, there's copycats out there, right?
Christianity's the latest one.
No.
Are you out of your
If
mind?
you relax, Leo. Look, if you read that book, okay,
Relax, and the first thing I hear is Christianity is a copycat. Really?
No, I said it the other way around, and he said he was a copycat. I said no, there are copycats out there, but then he said, "Oh, the Bible is a copycat." No,
I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
Oh, okay. That's what we thought.
I just mean Christianity is the latest carbon copy of religion.
Go on, Neil.
Christianity is not a religion.
I wondered about that because Peter did say something about this man's religion is then vain, right? Wasn't he talking about Christian there?
Why would Jesus be saying Christianity is in vain? If he had a religion,
no, Peter. Well, the Holy Spirit through Peter, yeah, said something about then this man's religion is vain. Wasn't he talking about a Christian in that situation? Or maybe I gotta double check to make sure. But I do remember the word religion mentioned by Peter. I better double check the context. But I know I heard this one guy say it this way, right? He said to religion it's God and to family it's Father, right? So
hello.
Well, listen, if you look up, hold on.
Humble.
If you look up the root word, one of the root words for religion means return to bondage. Jesus sets us free from the bondage of religion, correct?
Right.
He said,
Correct.
Come and learn of me, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light. No religion.
Yeah, but you don't know what the word religion could have been meant when it was used by Peter. Hold on, Humble, you're roboting. Right? Like words change over time. So at that time when the word religion was used by Peter, you gotta look at the context to find out what he meant by that word. And even nowadays what the word religion could mean totally different from what it was back in the Bible times, right? So that's another thing you gotta consider. Am I still connected to you guys?
Yeah.
Okay, mic check.
Religion is religion, righteous. It's not going to make a difference. Religion is religion.
But the word changes. The word of religion could have changed over the hundreds of years.
Humble, you're just roboting through the top of everybody, making everything. Yeah, it's just going to robot through the top of me now. You're just roboting through the top of everybody, making everything inaudible, Humble.
May take him a while to get the
Sorry,
message.
Right, go ahead, Humble.
I was just wondering if Neil could give us his definition of religion when he used the word.
Okay, we got it.
Hey, righteous.
Did you
Wait,
end that,
Neil got asked a question.
Just the guy who's roboting that's difficult to communicate with, probably best if we don't ignore him so we haven't got to endure 10 minutes of him trying to get the one sentence he wants Neil to react to that he's just got through again. Thanks. Did you hear that, Neil?
I heard a bunch of roboting. Sorry. Move
Didn't hear
on.
him ask you to define what you mean by religion.
Oh, I heard it because you said it. Define what I mean by religion. I don't have religion, but I know when I did have religion, it was a lot of works, a lot of labor, a lot of effort, a lot of bondage. Like QE says, Christianity is not a religion, it's a reckoning. And I like that.
That didn't give the definition, did it?
No.
He asked me what my opinion of religion is.
He's saying, if you're saying it isn't a religion, what do you say is a religion so we can compare and contrast to what you say it isn't? That's what he's asking.
Okay, a religion, I'll rephrase it. A religion is something that you have to work for, that you have to do, that you have to put into. That's what religion is. Bondage, work, slavery. Comprende?
So you're not in slavery to Christ.
Now you're talking a different thing, though. Yes, I am enslaved to Christ, but it's a freedom. I know it sounds like contradicting, but if you're a Christian, you're walking with Jesus, you know exactly what I mean.
So there's no works at all involved with your form of religion.
No. I'm not
No,
a
we
Christian.
got into this last time on QE's show.
Right.
They're not going to get me into that works doctrine. This is a free pass. You accept what Christ has done, you are set free from the yoke of bondage, and that's sin and death. Okay? That's it. I don't work for it.
That was up for discussion, though. That was up for debate. Bet he disagrees with you.
I'm just some clarity on, like, Jesus gave us a very important work to do, which is preaching the good news of the kingdom. Do you consider that a work?
No, that's not a work. That's a beautiful thing. That's the only thing he gave us: go into all the world and preach the gospel, tell the good news, and make disciples of all men.
Okay. So, how about faith without works is dead? What would you define works as in that scriptural statement?
You're not. Listen, we're talking about for salvation here, okay? Once you become a Christian, you have salvation. Of course, you're going to do things because you want to do things, not to be saved, but because you are saved by the grace of God, knowing that you're a filthy, rotten sinner. Saved by grace, you're going to want to do these things.
I didn't answer his question.
But I don't do them to get saved.
You're just addressing the contradiction by you're addressing the contradiction by saying, "Well, I view it as something I'm choosing to do, therefore it's not work. Because I'm saved, it isn't work anymore." That seems like just your excuse for the contradiction.
It's not a work. How is that a work? How is that a work when somebody comes before you have a chance to present the gospel of Jesus Christ? You tell me how that's work.
I can easily give you a comparison, but based on the tone of Humble, if he's already got it based on the contradictory reply, I don't need to elaborate. I think it's obvious already, but you've given your spin. You don't want to. Go on.
I got a Bible verse, okay? It was James, it wasn't Peter, okay? I'll start at verse 25, James 1:25 to 27. But whosoever looketh in the perfect law of liberty and continueth therein, he being not a forgetful hearer, but a doer of the work, this man shall be blessed in his deed. If any man among you seemeth to be religious, and bridleth not his tongue, but deceiveth his own heart, this man's religion is vain. Pure religion and undefiled before God and the Father is this, to visit the fatherless and the widows in their affliction, and to keep himself unspotted from the world. So there was a lot of context there.
And what's that in the context of? Who's
Well,
he talking
being
to? What is he talking about?
well, being bridling your tongue and being a doer, right? If somebody is hungry, you don't just say, be filled and be blessed. You give that which is needful for their body, right? Food. That means you're being a doer, right?
Neil, the thing I'm afraid of when I hear people use certain phrases in connection with Christianity. Sorry? When,
I really don't
like,
get what
we
you're
consider, that's fine. I'm just saying that there are certain things that we need to do as Christians, such as even in our speech, right? That we present ourselves in such a way that people will listen to us and say, I think that person is a Christian speaking. If you're using certain language, I wouldn't actually describe you as a Christian.
Define language.
Well,
so you're going to tell me QE is not a Christian because he uses the F word. Be careful.
Well,
be careful, Judge and jury.
If he's speaking to someone about God and the Bible, I think anyone on the street, if he's using that language in that context, I don't think he's representing Christ in a proper way, because one of the things we need to do is control our speech and our anger. It says even if someone challenges us as a Christian, we don't get angry at them.
Hey, I got a fun question.
It's work to be a Christian.
You are in a religion. See, you're in a religion. I'm in a relationship. That's it. Now I'm working. I can't speak right now. I'm driving, but I'll listen.
Who's up for a fun question?
Go ahead.
What do you guys think prayer is?
Something you can get arrested for here in the UK?
Explain.
Communication.
Explain. In the UK, the local councils are given the privilege of creating their own bylaws. And outside an abortion clinic, there was a bylaw passed that you were not in any way to interfere with the people who are performing abortions, that's the staff, or the people receiving abortions, that's the people going in for abortions, right? You're not allowed to interfere within a certain area of this clinic. And they listed off the things that you were not allowed to do. And that included silent prayer. So a woman strolled up to the abortion clinic, literally slightly bowed her head, and a policeman approached her and said, "Are you saying a little prayer?" And she said, "I might be." She was promptly arrested and charged.
I would have just said, no, I'm schizophrenic. I talk to myself.
It makes no difference. The point is that she was saying a prayer, and as a result of her not verbalizing anything, arrested and charged. Thought crime.
Wow. Wow.
There you go. What's prayer to me? Something you can be arrested for in this country?
Okay, what I consider
That's definitely not Texas.
Forget about the language. When you're searching through light to find out if there's a God, I'd say that's a lack of faith. And without faith, it's impossible to please him.
Just in case you want a bit more information on that, there's a YouTube channel called The Black Belt Barrister who released a video on it in the last couple of days. So if you want to see more on that particular legal issue, and it is a legal issue if you ask me, then go and check out Black Belt Barrister. It'll give you a bit more insight into the whys and wherefores of that particular thought crime, arrest and subsequent prosecution.
I can just imagine that. Hey, what are you doing? You're not praying, are you? Come over here. Get in the cage.
Yeah, that's what happened. That is what happened. She was arrested and taken to the station and then charged. I don't know if she's been prosecuted yet, but she will be. She will be. Oh, it begins.
Sorry.
What were you saying, Nathan?
That is what happened. What you said, like trying to make a joke of it. Oh, right. She was just asked if she was praying and then she was bundled off into... Yeah, she was. That's exactly what happened.
You Brits are so silly. Never anyone else got anything to say on the prayer? Like what physically is it? What mentally is it? Spiritually?
I was going to ask what happened to her after, a follow-up of what happened to the lady.
You have to released? I don't know. You'll have to subscribe to Black Belt Barrister.
Is a barista those coffee maker people at Starbucks?
Barristers Queen's Counsel, it used to be called. Now it's King's Counsel. Person who actually goes before the judge to represent you. They're a lawyer here.
Here, that's called a Starbucks employee.
That's a barista. A barrister is somebody who goes before the judge to represent you. There's a distinct difference between a lawyer, somebody who's going to prepare your case, do the research, do the communication, do the paperwork, do all the administration, and a barrister who, yes, obviously has certain aspects of administration in their role, but their primary purpose is to go before the judge as your representative. That's a barrister.
Is it sort of like a paralegal in America?
I don't know what the Americans would call it.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's something like that too. Some type of representation.
Definitely not under the lawyer. They are higher than a lawyer.
Really?
Neil?
Yes, wow. If it was a criminal case, it'd be the guys in the wigs. Yeah?
Neil? They only wear the wigs for criminal cases?
Yeah, I think so.
Neil?
I can just imagine people in the UK courts with little Peaky Blinders hats.
I like the wigs, man.
You can mock it all you like. Your justice system's based on ours. So, yeah. Mock it all you like.
Yeah, we're like Christianity. We're a cheap copy.
That's why I laugh, Nathan, when people talk about Britain, because I'm like, I don't know what you're laughing at. We're birthed right from there.
Neil?
I like the barista thing.
Yeah, Humble's been trying to get your attention for the last 3 minutes.
I'd like to, just like to leave Neil with a...
Neil, you're interrupting him now.
Just a quick question to consider. You have very high standards for being a flat earther. Would you consider that you have just as high a standard for someone who calls himself a Christian? Just think about it, and we'll talk about it one day.
That's what I tell 10th Man every day.
But there is only one standard for being a Christian. Sorry, you asked Neil.
I don't understand what you're asking me. I really don't. I don't have a high standard of being a flat earther. If you're going to bring something, it better be validated scientifically or get it out of here.
That's a high standard by comparison to everyone else, Neil.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
You got any videos queued up, Nathan?
No.
Who was it that sent me?
Have you heard of the McKeegan guy on YouTube?
If you can share it with somebody like maybe Righteous and you can stick it in Masturbators, as long as it's not
in
some
the main chat
nobody.
already.
Who is it? Is it a total nobody?
Dave McKeegan. How many subscribers? 39,000 subscribers. Dave McKeegan.
That's a nobody.
Okay.
I mean, I don't mind covering that if you really want me to, but I'd much prefer to cover Michelle Fowler, Neil deGrasse Tyson, Brian Cox, Michio Kaku, the mainstream.
I remember that
numpties.
Betty girl. She was so good. The
The
one
NASA
you
girl.
said, does it keep you up at night?
That
No,
NASA
the
girl
Betty girl. Who
was perfect. Was absolutely perfect.
Lauren Dansley. Lauren Dansley.
Yes, Danzy or whatever she was called. Yes, but that was ideal. Like, couldn't have been times better either, because literally only about a week ago there was allegations of shillery within the flat Earth community, and all of the standards that I said I would accept for you to label somebody a shill, she disclaimed personally to camera. You're like, there's the standard.
Yeah, the memo thing pretty sank her boat right there. She goes, well, we didn't get that memo.
What she actually said was that there was a stage where we weren't allowed to talk about the Big Bang. And I just got a memo telling us that we're not allowed to talk about that. So I didn't. You're like, okay. So can you imagine the same thing? As we're talking about Christians, or have been, you know, some Christian gets the memo from the Pope. Oh, by the way, you're not allowed to talk about Jesus. Just bear that in mind.
Oh, and I really like the part where all of a sudden, out of fucking left field, she just talks about vaccination. We're like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Yeah, that was a good one to react to. Like I say, I don't mind doing this guy if no one else presents. Then, well, this is what we're doing. So, kudos to you.
I put it in the live chat.
I've got it.
What's it called?
I've got it already. It's okay. We'll have a quick listen now, because we've got 5 minutes before the
How
live show
to
starts.
silence flat earthers.
How would it go?
Ad. Non-skippable. 15 seconds. Okay, yeah, well, like I say, we'll have a look at this. I mean, I don't mind doing that stuff, but I just want to kind of edge away from numpty anti-flat earthers as much as I possibly can. You know,
I got to figure out how to gift you a YouTube premium subscription, Nathan. That's coming from me.
right.
I don't want you skipping through ads no more.
Is
It
that
makes the
so?
show look cheap.
My show is cheap. I'm cheap. I'm poor. If it looks cheap, smash the super chat. If it looks cheap, smash the PayPal link.
You make a hold on. You make a lousy American. You do not fake it till you make it.
I'm not faking anything. This is it. This is how it is. This isn't
You are not
faking it. I'm definitely a
Make a bad
professional
American.
YouTuber. It's just my standards are very low because I'm poor. Right, let's do this.
Video has seemingly rather upset the flat earth community.
Nah, mate, it definitely haven't upset me, whoever you are.
Oh dear. They weren't happy because I stated
So they weren't happy. This is a stereotyping fallacy.
they think the earth is a flat disc, and apparently that
So that's a stereotyping fallacy with a baseless assertion. We think it's a flat disc. No, we don't. That's the Flat Earth Society that think that, mate. So maybe you need to be a bit more specific about who you're addressing. 'cause
Hey, are you
this
gonna
isn't
start Are you gonna start the show first?
We're doing this. We've got 2 more minutes.
Okay.
that's not the case. Apparently, real flat earthers, there's an ironic term for you, but real flat earthers don't think the earth is a flat disc at all.
No, I don't. I would say I'm a real flat earther. But this is also another generalisation. Me specifically, I'm not going to bundle myself within any camp that you're going to stereotype me with. I don't know why you're doing it twice.
Many even accusing me of outright being a liar and making it up.
Well, yeah, okay. You've just used a stereotyping fallacy. I don't know if I could call that a lie, just a use of fallacious reasoning.
To try and prove a point that doesn't actually exist. Except up until
Yeah, that's called a straw man fallacy. If you went forth and then fought against that disc reification that you're straw manning us with, then yeah, I don't blame them.
at least a few weeks ago when I was still on Facebook, I was part of
Oh God, this is boring. Okay, yeah, we'll do the show. Does he get to something juicy? Let's just find that out before I start.
Yeah, about 10 minutes in, I think he starts with his little 5 reasons.
About 10 minutes in.
Put a
Okay,
NASA one in chat as well, Nathan.
we'll have a look. I'll start about 7.5 minutes in, and we'll go from there when we go on the live show. Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now, we are joined by Neil, Brian's Logic, Righteous Force, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Let's get it on!
Yes, indeed. Let's get it on. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge that's a horizon formerly known as the curve of the Earth?
No, there never has been any. It's been debunked anyway with long-distance photography, Black Swan, and everything else.
Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
Nope, you don't see that. Even if you hover a drone, stationary drone, you don't see any apparent movement from it with the Earth spinning underneath it. It's all lies.
Any evidence of the distance to the Sun?
The school books say 93 million miles away, but I don't think that's evidence.
You'll need an R value for that. Any evidence of the R value, that's Earth radius?
When you look into the R value, all you'll find is the elevation angle measurement taken from a flat baseline. No mention of any curves.
Any evidence you can acquire an elevation angle measurement from a curved baseline?
Negative. It's an impossibility.
Any evidence that level is not horizontal?
No.
Any scientific evidence of gravity?
You'd first have to observe a natural phenomena, and that's never been done. So you can't have any scientific proof of that.
I just dropped my keys. Is that a natural phenomenon? Or leaves just fell off a tree?
Oh yeah, I mean, if it was something naturally falling, you could science that. It has been done. See Anthony Riley's experiment. Speaking of which, any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
Hello.
Hey, Arwin.
Nope. It's impossible. The entire field rests on the premise that has presuppositions in it, and so it can never, a viable hypothesis could never be attained within those fields.
Any evidence you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon?
Well, we wouldn't be here talking about it if it was. If it
I'm
was.
really trying to think. I mean, you need a container to demonstrate anything.
Well, demonstrate gas pressure, or examples with gas pressure, including but not limited to gas pressure gradients, because they're inclusive of gas pressure, needing a container to press upon.
You need a container to exist in order to perform an experiment.
That's true.
Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Yeah, I know that it's not in the rhetoric, but this is like the 100,000th time I've heard someone mention volcanoes just the other day.
Volcanoes? What have they got to do with molten iron cores?
Saying, where is it coming from? Where is this volcanic lava coming from? It has to be coming from the molten iron core.
No, it doesn't. It comes from tectonic activity. We keep covering this. According to the current rhetoric, the ring of fire is as a result of the friction at the tectonic plate edges where they meet, rub against each other, generate heat and create a pool below the surface level, below the crust. So,
Oh, really? Who said that?
Well, that's just what it teaches in basic high school geography. Just open any high school geography book and have it show you what they describe with tectonic activity in the Ring of Fire. You know, that's what it's described as.
Has anybody been there and done that?
I don't know if it's true. I'm just saying that it's not the same rhetoric. It's not the same as them saying, well, it's coming from the molten iron core. There's little tubes, you know, 3,000 miles down that come all the way up to the top. There isn't. That's not part of the rhetoric. Regardless of if the new rhetoric, the tectonic claim is true or not. I don't know if that's true or not either. Makes no odds. Is there any evidence of a molten iron core?
I think they're trying to smash them together somehow. You're going to be hearing about it more and more.
Okay.
If we've got no evidence of R, then we can't have a molten iron core, can we?
No. Did we cover them all? Is that all of the housekeeping questions covered? I think we did.
What about it if the, sorry about stepping in, but is there any evidence that great circle roots are circles?
I like that one.
I'm going to need some more qualification on that at some point, Brian. I understand what Polaris is used for. I understand that you're getting areas of equal elevation to be described as latitude, right, with that fixed star. In other words, you move back away from it, the angle decreases as the star drops, the Polaris star drops towards the horizon, and then you can say, well, the area of equal elevation is X latitude, because that's where they've derived that concept from, right? But when you say a circle root isn't a circle, why not?
Because the great circle roots are claimed to be basically the length of two longitude lines. Longitude lines are horizontal measurements. The latitude and longitude grid, which is where they get their great circle roots, is a polar coordinate system. Polar coordinate systems, just like XY coordinate systems, are purely flat coordinate systems. They are not curved. They are horizontal at all times. There's a claim that there is such a thing called great circle roots. And when I've asked, let's say Wolfie, who was a commercial pilot, to prove that great circle roots are actually circles, all he can do is insult me because he can't prove it. Because there is no proof, because they're not circles. That's my point. So is there any evidence that great circle roots are circles? Is a valid question. Because there is a claim out there that great circle roots are circles, and these circles circle the outside circumference of a globe Earth with a radius of 3959 miles. But they would have to support that they're circles, not just straight line routes. Okay. What do you think?
Aren't they just the circle route after they've applied the Haversine formula to turn a straight line angular measurement into a curved circle?
Well, yeah, that's the thing about it. I mean, what are they going to produce? The Haversine formula? That's not proof that you're flying a circle route, is it? Because if you're flying an airplane and you're following what they're calling a great circle route, that means you have to be flying at least part of a circle, you know, as your route. But airplanes don't do that. That's why commercial pilot Wolfie 6020 just insulted me when I asked them 2 different times.
Okay. Maybe
and refused to answer.
Fair enough. Yeah, maybe we need to do a bit more on this.
Hey,
Okie
Nathan,
dokie.
it's at 5 minutes on the video where he gets to his points. But if you want to get to Neil deGrasse Tyson one, it's cool too.
I didn't know that somebody had shared a Neil deGrasse Tyson one, to be honest, but we've got this up and I've shared the link to the live audience. So this is Dave McKeegan. Not the most popular of people, but there we go. Such is life. But we're going to cover some of his nonsense. We covered his boring intro in the pre-show if you want to check it out as a member, or if you're not a member, become a member. Or if you think it looks unprofessional that I've not got YouTube Premium because I'm too poor, then tough luck. This is as professional as it gets.
There are 5 observations that every individual can make about the moon. No, this is not a...
Not a good start then if this is his proofsies. So we're starting with the moon. So you're going to be proving Earth spherical with a light in the sky. Okay, not a good start.
Hypotheticals or anything. This is stuff that you can physically go outside yourself, anywhere in the world, watch the moon, you will see these same observations.
About the moon? Okay, so we're going to go out and we're going to watch this about the moon. This isn't going to end well, I can tell you that.
Observation 1, the moon is...
No, whoa. Observation 1. Has anybody ever seen this clean Terminator line? Like this? Is this the backside of the moon that we're seeing? I'm thinking no. This doesn't look like a picture of the moon. This looks like an artist rendering from a weird angle with a strange Terminator line. Because that doesn't look like that to me.
Is round. Now...
Yeah, round. Okay. I mean, you can infer that it's spherical from that roundness. You haven't done that, though. We've just said it's round. Okay. Point 1. Anybody going to disagree with him? Moon looks round. At some point. Anybody? No? Nobody's disagreeing with you.
No. I've never actually seen a flat earther try and argue that the moon is flat, to be fair. They all, I think...
So round is flat. Round is 2-dimensional. Your description is flat. So what the bloody hell are you babbling about when you've just used a two-dimensional description of it? Round. What the bloody hell? Oh, this guy's a complete mong.
Agree, the moon is a ball.
No, I don't agree that the moon's a ball. I don't know that whatsoever. I don't know what the moon is. Now, you beg the question and assume it's a sphere, but how are you going to infer that from just telling me that it's round occasionally in certain phases? You're just going to move from round to spherical without knowing why or telling us why. That's pretty useless. I'm not going to pull apart the things you haven't said because you haven't said them. But this is crap.
I mean, there's debates about how big...
Is that it? Bit of stuttering and then move on to the debates? Where's your proof? See that it's a sphere? I mean, I haven't even got anything to pull apart.
It is, how far away it is, or what it is made of, but I think...
You'll need R for that. In terms of the distance to the moon, that's based on an R value that you assume for a sphere Earth that you assume, and then a superimposed R value onto Venus to apply Kepler's third law. You will need an R value, and we have debunked it when it comes to your moon distance, so no. No, keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate, my friend.
I think everyone agrees it's a ball.
No, we don't agree. What you think everybody agrees, have you asked everybody, bonehead? Clearly not.
You can see it's a ball by the shadow casts off it.
Oh, really? So maybe you want to look into specular reflections and how your heliocentric moon is claimed to be lit by the sun, to know that it isn't.
The fact that throughout the month, throughout the phases, you see that curve.
We don't see what we've just been shown either. You know, that isn't how it appears to us. You know, what it's doing is showing a time-lapse over a prolonged period that's probably been created in a CGI program. Because this isn't how you'd get a time-lapse of it, and how it wouldn't appear. I have seen very carefully constructed time-lapses of the moon going through its phases, but this doesn't look like that. This looks like some CGI crap that is dug up.
Curved shadow around
Nathan.
the edge of it, and it's always...
Yes.
I just want to say, yeah, I agree with you there because I've photographed the moon myself, and I've zoomed in as best as I have a good zoom camera, and the dark part of the moon, whether daytime, nighttime, you can't see it. You can't see it. You just can't see what's there. There's a line and once you go past this line, you can't see what's there. So any CGI that's showing the dark part of the moon where you can kind of see it, that's all. Anybody that sees that, they're not seeing the real moon, they're seeing CGI. And where did he prove that it was a shadow?
Well, he might move on to the inference of libration. If he does, fine, because with a time lapse and a lot of inference, I can take that as a stretch if he uses it. We'll see. He might use it.
The shadow is backside to the sun. So observation.
No, that's your assumption in a heliocentric orbital motion. Backside to the sun. My arse. No, if you assume orbital motion.
Observation 1, the moon is a sphere.
No. By assumption, you say it's a sphere. And by assumption, it's in an orbital motion already. You haven't demonstrated this. You haven't proven this. You're just assuming it.
Observation 2.
Whoa, you didn't prove observation 1. You just pointed at it and then made an assumption. 2, in fact. Sphericity and orbital motion. Those are assumptions you haven't proven. And number 1, to beg the question of them, you need an R value. So you can impose it on Venus and apply Kepler's third law to give you distances and scaling values and orbital motions. We've debunked all of this.
At any given time of the year, from anywhere in the world, the moon always appears the same size. Now, the moon
appears the same size, like apparent. Apparent size. Appears apparent. Yeah. So what? That's not actual size, you realise. So let's see where it goes with this not actual size of the moon from various locations.
The moon does change in size slightly throughout the year.
Sorry, it doesn't change in size, apparent size, but now it does change in size throughout the year. No. You're describing an apparent size of a light in the sky.
Year as its orbit gets maybe a bit closer.
So orbit? What, you're just assuming orbits? Moving your hand around? Is that your proof, see? Is this moving your hand around a proof, see, of an orbit? No, we debunked it. It needs an R value assumption. It needs a spherical assumption for all the lights in the sky. It needs a gravitational assumption. It needs a planets falling around stars with stars being absolutely colossal assumption. And it needs an R value. So no, you moving your hand around to camera doesn't prove orbit.
Or a bit further away.
Nathan.
But on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Is there any evidence has anyone ever seen the actual size of the moon to claim it has an angular size?
No, they have not.
Same with the sun. I've never seen the actual size. I've only been told about an angular size. But you'd need to know the actual size to even claim it has an angular size, would you not? How do you make that claim?
I just couldn't move my mouse fast enough. Shout out to Rubenson Gaydon? I don't know how to say your surname. I'm really sorry. But thank you very much for the super chat. It says, happy to be a member of this think tank. Well, pleasure.
Gideon, I think it is.
Gideon. Perfect. Thank you very much for the super chat. Really appreciate the support.
On any given night, any given string of night,
any given string of night? That's not even a sentence.
You view the moon from...
Man, this is a clusterfuck. Spit it out.
Anywhere on...
Why didn't you edit this out? This is a pre-recorded video, right? This isn't live. You didn't need that. If I was editing this, you didn't need that. Would have got edited out. Lazy bastard.
Earth. It always appears the same size. Doesn't matter whether you're up in...
Apparent size. Appears the same size. That's apparent size, not actual size.
The north, in the UK or Scandinavia, you're on the equator, in Mexico, or you're over in...
On the equator? What's that? Can you show it me?
In Australia, the moon is always the same size.
It's apparent size doesn't change. You mean it's not actual size? Clown shoes. This means nothing.
All across the world. Observation 3.
Right, proving what? Right, observation 2 proves nothing. Because you don't understand the difference between actual size, that's its measured size, feet, inches, meters, centimeters, versus apparent size. You use the word because you've got a vague notion that that's how it's described, but you don't know what they mean, do you? You don't know what these words mean. Because point 2 proves nothing.
Is that from any spot on the Earth, you watch the moon through the night, it will always stay the same size from your vantage point.
Isn't this the same as point 2? So your crap point about apparent size of the moon, point 2 was concluded. Moving on to point 3, apparent size of the moon. Are you padding out this a little bit? This crap demonstration with apparent size of the moon. It needs to be 2 points, does it? Okay.
You can see it come up from one horizon, transit all the way across the sky, and down below the other horizon.
Below the other horizon? No, that would infer that you've got a physical geometric sphere edge for a horizon for it to go below. Like beyond. You think the moon's falling over the edge of your Earth curve horizon, do you? We've debunked that as well. So it's not going below the horizon. Definitely not. We've debunked your Earth curve edge, my friend.
And it stays the same size all the way.
Apparent size? Not actual size. Look up apparent, bonehead.
Across. Observation 4.
But what did observation 2 and 3 prove again? Absolutely nothing.
Is that despite it being a sphere, we only ever...
Why is it a sphere? You've got CGI rendering of what they claim happens when you watch libration occur. But this CGI rendering where you can see all sides of the moon all the time isn't how the moon appears in my telescope. When I did, I haven't anymore. But when I did, this isn't what it looked like.
Never see the same face. Again, doesn't matter where you are in the world, only ever one side of the moon shows...
So that would infer that it's not spherical then, doesn't it?
Towards the
Earth.
Earth.
That's debunking your assertion, you dumbo.
Earth?
You'd think if it was spherical, you'd see some three-dimensionality to it, wouldn't you? Yeah, you'd be able to see around it a bit? No. Even with the orbital mechanics, which have just got apologetics for why you can't see it as a sphere. But you're using that as a proof, see? Totally brainwashed.
Observation 5, despite the fact that we all only see one face of the moon...
What, debunking the notion that you assume it's a sphere?
The orientation of that face changes depending on where you are viewing it from. More specifically, it changes depending on your latitude on...
Latitude? What's that? How's that been derived? So you're describing where you'll see it with latitude, which is a concept that's been derived from a flat plane elevation angle measurement to Polaris. So depending on your flat Earth elevation angle measurement to Polaris, it changes its orientation. No, I've observed it. What it does, depending on position, or time if you stay still, how long you wait for it to move through the sky, it rolls. So I've heard it described as being a wagon wheel through the sky, because it rolls. Now your libration over a month, then juxtaposed with what it'll do throughout the night, is not in any way comparable. Your CGI renderings taken from the notion of what it does throughout its phases. That's libration. As opposed to how it traverses the sky as you watch it. And it rolls its position through the night. The face moves around in a rolling motion. So you obviously haven't observed the moon. I have. And it doesn't do what you're saying.
On the Earth. Now, that's not making assumptions about the shape of the Earth or anything.
Yeah, it is. You made loads of assumptions. You assumed orbital motion. You assumed sphericity and declared it. The only reason you've got a spherical moon is because of a heliocentric orbital motion it's in. That's assuming Earth's a sphere. My God, this guy is thick. Why are you talking on this subject? You are a clown and have no idea about heliocentrism. Now me, I shouldn't have to know, but I know more about it than you do. It shouldn't be the case. You should be an expert. If you're going to talk on this subject, you shouldn't have to have flat earthers correcting you on your own wrong assertions about the heliocentric model that you don't understand. Learn your own model.
We think that is just 5 observations that we all can make about...
And mean nothing. And include apologetics for why you haven't got a spherical assumption to make about the moon. What a bonehead.
The moon, and any model of the Earth has to...
Models are pseudoscience. Who cares? Models aren't reality. We're not living on a bloody model.
...to be able to account and conform with those 5 observations. So let's try and fit those 5 observations...
What, that didn't prove anything and assumed orbital motion?
...into a flat Earth model.
Why? Have I presented you with a flat Earth model? Are you allowed to hold up your little straw man false dichotomy? So, like most amateurs, they revert to what they've been trained at the feast of nonsense when they got here for an anti-flat earther, which is offer up a straw man false dichotomy. Their model. What model? Models are pseudoscience. We're not living on a bloody model. So what are you going to burn here? Oh, right, the false dichotomy versus your model you've assumed with orbital motion. No, this is crap. This is really basic entry-level fallacy use.
Observation 1, the moon is round, okay? That can fit.
Okay. Round, what, 2-dimensional, like it's going to be drawn here. Not spherical. Can't be drawn in that way on a 2-dimensional screen.
We can have a moon orbiting around the...
Orbiting? So your assumption of an orbital motion is around a sphere. So you've now transposed what is the azimuthal equidistant projection of a sphere based on a derivation from the celestial sphere with flat Earth elevation angle measurements to Polaris drawn on this map. So it's gone from flat Earth elevation angle measurement to globe, by way of Haversine, back to flat in the form of the azimuthal equidistant projection. And then you've got what you're calling an orbit when you put a flat disk moon that's a circle, 2-dimensional in nature, on top of a flat projection of a globe projection of a flat Earth angle measurement to Polaris with latitude. That's what you've actually got here. Not that you know any of that. You just say flat Earth model. It isn't. It's using latitude, the principle that's come from a flat Earth, to give you an excuse to have a flat map. So you can say it's a globe projection.
Around the Earth, and it can be round. That's not a problem.
Not a problem. This map doesn't work in that way. It works from the centre out.
Now, flat earthers say that...
Do we? Stereotyping, fallacy, or baseless assertion to come?
The moon and the sun are both about 3,000 miles away.
Do we? No, we do not. I do not make that claim. I ask people like you, Bonehead, who have a 93 million mile sun and a 250,000 mile moon, how they get their distances. And it requires an R value. But what are you doing based on the fact that you are the one with the positive claim of a distance to the moon and you are the one with the positive claim of a distance to the sun and now charging us because of the feast of nonsense crap that's peddled about what flat earthers believe before we even found the subject? We've got a distance of 3,000 miles, have we? No, mate. No, we understand that the principle of elevation angle measurements won't allow you to derive the height of these celestial objects. Yeah, but that would mean understanding the principles of celestial navigation and the measurement to angles to the stars. So no, definitely not. We wouldn't make that assertion. It's stupid to make such an assertion when you understand what the stars do. You get the same angle to them when you raise in height. So you can't derive height from them. You boneheads do, with flat Earth angle measurements to back your claims.
They don't buy this idea.
Why does he keep stuttering? Why don't you edit out your crappy stuttering?
The moon is 750,000 miles away and that the sun is 93 million miles away.
Yeah, so that's your claim. So what you're going to offer up your claim, no justification for it, just here's my claim. Now let's take apart a flat Earth, the straw man claim that we're not making because we understand why you couldn't make it.
And that the sun is 400 times bigger than the moon. They think they're both about...
sorry, that's your claim. Are you going to back that now? That shite that you believe because you were trained in it when you were small? You're going to just parrot that off because it's true and then take apart something that nobody's claiming here. I'm not claiming this 3,000 mile straw man you're about to claim, but I can actually take apart your claim of a massive sun 93 million miles away based on an R value superimposed onto Venus and Kepler's third law of interplanetary motion based on an assumption of orbits. Yeah, I can take apart your straw man for an Earth we're not living on And you don't understand, because the claim you're actually making, you think you don't need to justify. Just say it, and then take apart a claim we're not making. What a bloody outrage. Another shout out to Rubenson. Thank you very much for the super chat. We need to fund Nathan Oakley 1980 for a scientific experiment. He'll be unstoppable. We've already got one. Just go and check out Anthony Riley's channel. Sleeping Warrior's done an experiment that debunks gravity. It observes the natural phenomena of some things going down, some things going up, some things remaining neutral. And he explains it by way of cause and effect reasoning with a validated hypothesis. So, yeah, we've done experiments. I say we. Anthony has. I haven't. Although I did do that. I just didn't formulate a hypothesis 3 years ago, or 5 years ago probably now, when I did that with the egg. Anthony did it properly, turned it into science. So loads of people did it. I can think of a Phuket word off the top of my head also did the same thing with the egg to make the point. And I'm sure I did make the point. Anthony took it and formulated it into a scientifically valid experiment. But thank you very much for the super chat. Really appreciate your support.
Anthony is ace.
Anthony is ace.
About the same size, and they're both about 3,000 miles away. So,
you've got your claim that you haven't validated or in any way justified, and you've got our claim that we didn't make and know why you wouldn't make it based on the behaviour of the stars when you're measuring angles to them, and that angle not changing regardless of your altitude. Hence, people on aeroplanes can use sextants the same as they are used on boats, with no adjustment, in spite of them being at 30,000 feet. So yeah, no, we definitely wouldn't assert this shite about the height of the moon. But it seems you're about to burn it in false dichotomy without actually justifying your claim that we can take apart, because we understand it. And you don't, just to point that out one more time, you don't understand your own globe claim.
We now have a spherical ball 3,000 miles above the equator of the Earth.
Equator? Something that's been derived from an elevation angle measurement across a flat plane to Polaris, the outside edges, the extremities of the area of equal elevation for Polaris. That's what the equator is. But now you're going to put a ball above this flat pancake that's actually a global projection based on latitudes that have come from an angle measurement from a flat plane to Polaris. You don't know what you're doing, mate. I can just say, this is the failure of the global projection bit in the azimuthal equidistant projection. Because it's a globe projection, that's why it fails, Dumbo. I mean, I wouldn't use this model and don't claim it. You do realise that you're taking apart two flat Earth models. Globe and this azimuthal equidistant projection both came from the same latitude derivation based on angle measurements to Polaris from a flat plane.
Earth. Except the Earth is, well, we're not entirely sure how wide the flat Earth is.
Well, why didn't you find out? I mean, it's your straw man that you're burning. The reason you don't know is because you're making this up. I haven't made a claim about how bloody wide things are. So you don't know because the straw man's incomplete. Yeah, they don't give you enough information, do they? You've not come and researched what we actually claim. Just did a quick Google search. And then played with your dog.
Spherical Earth is just shy of 8,000 miles across.
Because, as evidenced by... We'll see if he does and then we'll debunk it.
Which presumably if you stretch out a flat Earth...
Oh, he didn't. He just moved straight onto the straw man he's pulling apart. That he's burning. So here's my claim, no evidence given. Now here's the claim I'm going to burn that isn't even their claim. If the Earth was a sphere radius 3959 miles, then every distance to the horizon could be measured no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. And the distance to the horizon in the black swan image is beyond the geometric limitations of an Earth sphere radius 3959. Therefore, the Earth is not a sphere radius 3959, and the horizon is not a sphere edge. You cannot derive the R value for your assertion, therefore your assertion that you didn't back in any way, shape or form fails. I don't have to defend this shite on screen. I didn't claim it.
Assuming they stick with that idea that...
Assuming, yeah, you're damn right. That's the most appropriate word you've used so far, because that's all you've done.
The equator is 8,000 miles across.
Assuming the equator is derived from a flat Earth elevation angle measurement from Polaris to its outside limitations, when plotted as an area of equal elevation in a 2D Cartesian coordinate system, called an azimuthal equidistant projection. So no, mate, it seems like you don't understand how any of these models work, and clearly haven't actually discussed this with any real flat earthers. Just a cursory search followed by your repetition of what the Flat Earth Society says.
That then puts the entire Earth at about 15,000 miles across.
Oh, so you do know how big the flat Earth is,
then? With the moon
then?
above the equator, on any given night...
Says who? You couldn't measure this angle to get this height. So this is nonsense. We can debunk both of your flat Earth to globe Earth projections onto flat maps or kept as a sphere in a straw man false dichotomy. We can debunk all of this, even the aspects that are wrong about a flat Earth that you're claiming.
Any country on the equator...
just for the audience's benefit, did you notice that I said that you're claiming? He's claiming this flat Earth. This is his claim now, not mine.
The moon is 3,000 miles away from...
You think it's 3,000 miles away, do you dumb shit? Wow, what a bonehead. I mean, if you were here claiming that as a flat Earther, you'd have your head ripped off. So I'll rip it off even though you're not. Nah, the moon's not 3,000 miles up, Dumbo. How did you measure that? What about if you wait a few minutes when the moon goes further away and the angle drops? Are you going to claim it's 3,000 miles then? You're going to struggle to when it's right above the horizon. Is it still 3,000 miles then? Oh yeah, we're dealing with apparent sizes of the moon. Right? Not actual height above the deck when it moves towards the horizon. Yeah, not actually going over a physical geometric sphere edge horizon. And none of that works, Dumbo. So no, your claim of 3,000 mile high moon is stupid. You can debunk that stupid nonsense also.
From them directly up. And yet, a country in, say, the Northern Hemisphere, 3,000...
Sorry, Northern Hemi what now? Where's the Hemi what now on this? Sphere? Northern Hemisphere? That sounds very much like you begging the question of your ultimate outcome that you haven't in any way demonstrated or proven or offered evidence for. The hemisphere? Begging the question a little bit much? Yeah, completely. Shout out to Twad Wazzle, who says... I've done as promised, Nathan. Enjoy your beer, bruv. I don't know what that means, but I will. Thank you very much indeed for the super chat. Really appreciate the support. Anybody got anything to add on this dude? No? Just for summary, if you've just joined us, we're covering Dave McKeegan. We'll actually share his show. Not that anybody ever does this to me when they get 150,000 views for commenting about what I've said. But there we go, that's life. Share the love, hopefully you'll grow. Much love to you as a YouTuber, by the way. Dave.
Miles away from...
Indeed, there's 100 people watching. I mean, if he grows, for all I know, he'll get this response, understand all of the stupid false dichotomies, all of the stupid straw men, all of his stupid assertions about 3,000 mile moons being wrong, and go, oh, wow, thank you very much. You know what, I'll become a Nathan Oakley 1980 member. Hopefully I'll learn a bit more from this think tank. On the other hand, he may not. But if he did, I'd be regretting not sharing his information, wouldn't I?
The equator, seeing that same moon, the distance that they're viewing the moon from is over 4,000 miles.
Really? Would that change if it got closer to the horizon? Apparently. What do you think? Do you think that would change the angle to it? Given that that's the basis of how celestial navigation works and how you derive latitude. Do you understand how this contradicts the way the map works with its latitude lines? No, you don't, do you, Dumbo? Because you're dumb. Yeah? If you're standing in this location and the moon goes away from you towards the horizon, does that ultimately change the angle and the height claim? Yeah, it would, wouldn't it? Yeah, it made this line shorter. You Dumbo. You don't understand any of this stuff, do you? You're out of your depth. Keep your mouth shut about flat Earth and globe Earth, especially about globe Earth, because you haven't got a clue.
Which means they're seeing the moon about 40% further away than people on...
I'll try it again. Dumbo, write this down. Apparent. It means not actual.
The equator, which means the...
Equator's derived from flat Earth angle measurements to Polaris, Dumbo.
Given relative distance...
Relative distance or apparent?
Moon should actually be close to half the...
Should it, based on apparent measurements of it? Not actual sizes and not actual distances? I'm thinking no. What we can derive from the moon in its position is GP locations, where it's above, like directly above. So if you were standing below it, the moon would be at your zenith. That's useful for navigation. Of course, you need a flat Earth to do it.
Size, when viewed from, say, the UK, than it should when viewed from a country on the equator.
Isn't that interesting that you understand this principle of how stuff gets smaller into the distance, but when it comes to assertions about how the begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator works, the distances versus the heights of buildings doesn't change ever with distances. So you've got a 30-foot building being a 30-foot building at all distances in the maths for Earth curve, yet suddenly when you take apart a straw man, you can do it with perspective. Yet this is the apparent size change. This ball hasn't changed in actual size, Dumbo. Its apparent size has changed? Angular size? Yes, something that's very much lacking in your Earth curve assertion, my friend. Maybe you want to look into that.
That doesn't conform.
Doesn't conform. It isn't even included when you make assertions about Earth being a sphere with a sphere-edge horizon for these balls you call the moon to orbit around. It's not even included. It's hijacked.
The only way to have no visible variation in the perceived size of the object like that
would be to put it into a begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator and ascribe a centimetre value to that ball. And in the Earth curve maths, when it started to disappear from view because it got too small, it would only be described as being obscured by an Earth curve edge. Because you're not describing how things get smaller into the distance when you decide to label them as blocked by Earth curve in the maths. So maybe you want to look into the primary argument for Earth curve before you start babbling on about perspective, because you'll find that some flat earther named Nathan Oakley 1980 comes along and absolutely humiliates you and points out that your assertion about how things should have accounts for perspective when detailing the moon are sorely lacking when you say that there's a feet and inches value missing from the bottom of a building or boat. Because that does not include perspective, Dumbo. Wow. Amateur. Yeah, this is a big pitfall that you should have avoided as an anti-flat earther, my friend. Because you're talking about something that's not in Earth curve maths.
That is to have it much further away. If you put the moon 250,000 miles away, above the equator, to a country...
The equator, something that's been derived from flat Earth elevation angle measurements to Polaris. So the equatorial plane. Yeah? Do you not know what the equator is? Do you not know the history of this word you're using? Clearly not. That's why you're being humiliated by a flat earther in response to your amateur attempt to understand your own religious belief.
That is 3,000 miles away from the equator.
Why would you assert this? Because I'm just going to take it apart as your claim, you stupid idiot. The moon drops towards the horizon from your location as you watch it. Does that mean it's getting lower? Ooh, thick!
That distance that it is seeing the moon from now becomes 250,018 miles.
No, it doesn't. Because the angles that they use when they triangulate the moon to give it the supposition of our insertion doesn't work when the moon moves towards the horizon. That's not how it's done. It's done by superimposing the R value for a presupposed spherical Earth onto Venus and the application of Kepler's third law. That's how you get your distances. You don't know your own religion.
Nathan.
Which...
Yes.
It's this guy talking about the angular position of the moon above the Earth.
Yes.
Angular, that would be an elevation angle, where the baseline would be horizontal from the observer to the GP point of that moon.
That's correct.
And that's some kind of a glow proof.
No, it's a flat Earth proof.
Yeah.
Perspective and angle measurements, that's what he's using. That's why I keep calling him an amateur. He's fallen into 3 massive anti-flat Earth pitfalls. That's what he's done. Falling into 3 massive gaping chasms, one after the next. Because you're talking about the indefensible use of perspective when describing things. Not included in Earth curve maths. Then he's talking about the angular size measurements of the apparent view of the moon. Yeah, that's going to require a flat Earth, mate. Oh my God. I really like this. Gene, I take it all back. This was epic.
Is only a 0.007% increase.
What, in angular size? Not actual size?
Not enough for us to perceive that.
Perceive? What, like apparent? Like not actual? He's saying the words. Go on.
No, you're saying if you couldn't perceive it, then how come he has an exact calculation? Or I suppose an exact measurement? Then someone had to have perceived it if he can come up with 0.007, whatever. You know what I mean? His logic is all over the place. And that's an angular size. For this guy, what's this man's name, Nathan? Dave, is it?
It's Dave McKeegan, but you're absolutely spot on. What he's doing is he's bullshitting his way around stuff he doesn't understand. That's why he keeps stuttering. I was asking earlier, why do you keep stuttering? It's because he doesn't know what he's talking about, making it up as he goes along, based on vague notions he has.
Yeah, the sun or moon or anything else can't have an angular size on his model. Angular size is perspective. Perspective, refraction, and diffraction is not accounted for in globe mathematics.
That observation doesn't work if the moon is only small and 3,000 miles away.
So why would you claim it is, stupid idiot? You should have people like us pointing out how bloody wrong you are and how flawed it is to assert that.
It does work if the moon is 250,000 miles away.
No, because to get 250,000 miles, you're going to need an R value for an Earth with a geometric capability of deriving that R from the physical sphere edge horizon, an Earth curve, at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. In your begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator. And once you've got that R value, you'll superimpose it onto Venus to get scale with Kepler's third law of orbital assumptions. You understand, Dumbo? Why am I having to educate you on where you get your 250,000 mile moon and 93 million mile sun from? Why am I having to tell you this? You Dumbo. Learn your own religion.
That then presents a problem, though.
No, it doesn't. It's a false dichotomy you're attempting to burn with absolutely no knowledge of your own bloody claim. And a failed attempt to describe what you think a flat Earth is, with stupid angles to things that move towards the horizon, changing their height, in your logic. Which isn't how the heliocentric model derives a 250,000 mile moon, you Dumbo. You don't know your own religion.
It's for flat Earth because...
No, a problem for your straw man.
The sun would also have to be the same distance. You couldn't...
Apparent size doesn't give you actual distance. This stupid straw man isn't our claim.
Have a sun that's 3,000 miles away and the moon 250,000 miles away, because then solar eclipses just...
Sorry, solar eclipses? You're going to assume all of the orbital motions that we've already debunked now superimposed onto an explanation for eclipses? All of that fails too because it requires orbital motion you haven't proven.
Don't work.
No, they don't work if you haven't got an orbital motion to assume.
So the moon, the sun would also have to be at least 250,000 miles away.
No, we don't know what the sun is. And we're not so arrogant as to make a claim about it. You're the one with a positive claim of a 93 million mile sun that you haven't proven.
Which would then mean that the entirety of a flat Earth would be lit all at the same time.
Based on your straw man burning? No, mate. I'm afraid not. Obviously not. I watched the sun come up and then go away. That's what happens daily. It lights my little area and then the area next to me afterwards. That's how it actually appears to work. It does. That doesn't alter the fact that every measurement to it to derive the maps and models that you're burning as strawman flat Earth and not proving a sphere with have come from elevation angle measurements to those lights in the sky, which necessitates it being a flat plane.
Time. Observation 3 kind of ties into observation 2 of this.
Well, it's the same observation. I kind of tied into it. It was the same. I pointed that out when it was the same, and you used it in 2 separate points.
This relevant relative distances.
By relevant, you mean apparent? Because you're doing this based on apparent sizes?
We can view that the moon stays the exact same size.
No. The same apparent size, Dumbo. No, it doesn't further to that. You can see it getting bigger with what is claimed to be atmospheric refraction close to the horizon. Like supermoons and stuff. So even in your own stupid model, this is flawed.
Throughout the night. It crosses all the way across the sky. It doesn't change.
Other than when it does. What, Dumbo? It literally... Have you ever actually looked at the moon? Have you ever actually stood outside and looked at the damn thing? Because if you had, you'd know this isn't the case. I hate it when cretins that probably have never even looked at the moon for more than 10 seconds make up crap about what they think it does.
Now, on the flat Earth model...
Straw man.
The idea of the flat Earth...
The idea that we haven't claimed and you're going to burn as a straw man.
Is that the Earth is staying still and then the moon is transiting above us.
No. From my position, I can see it rise and set. That's it. That's what it does.
Which means that if we see the moon on the horizon... and it then...
Sorry, why was it that when he said, if we can see the moon on the horizon... Let's just show that again.
Model, the idea of the flat Earth is that the Earth is staying still and then the moon is transiting above us. Which means...
He's about to say, when the moon's on the horizon... I hope you can all see the live stream, right? But he's describing... Is this his merch store? Oh, he's got a merch store. Well, he's doing better than I am if he's making money out of merch. Okay, anyway. Does this look like he's on the horizon? In his straw man? Why is it up here? What's going on? Is that where you think the horizon is? Is he an idiot? Is he modelled this stupid idiot? Quick shout out to Rubenson again. Says, I want to thank the panelists for their contribution. You can thank them verbally. I'll read it out, but the $2 I am definitely keeping all for myself. Thank you very much for the super chat. 100 people watching. Smash the share button. You can get, I don't know, 110 people watching before the usual scheduled end of the show. We'll continue doing this live. If not, we'll be rounding out in about 10 minutes' time. So smash that share button. Smash, smash, smash. Hey, Adam.
Adam.
Means that if we see the moon on the horizon and it then comes up overhead and down across the other side.
Sorry, is it going down and across? It's not doing the things you're describing in this crap orthographic view representation. Furthermore, why is it that I'm seeing the side of my own head? I mean, I've watched the moon plenty of times and I've never seen my own head in view. Ever.
The side. It's going...
Why is this orthographic view? What's with this?
From 4, 5, 6,000 miles away, up and overhead to only 3,000 miles away.
Yeah, this is our point for how it fails. So, the straw man you're burning that we're not claiming, you're describing how it fails as well as providing it as a straw man that we're not claiming. Wow.
And then disappearing back.
Yes.
Just for the audience, if you want in a minute, I put in the masturbators 2 images, one of the sun and one of the moon. The sun is aphelion and perihelion, and the moon is apogee and perigee. And if you want to compare the altitudes and the sizes, basically, the closer they are to the horizon, the greater the size, if you want to go by those altitudes.
Perfect. Thank you. I had them up on screen. Absolutely perfect. I didn't actually know that was what those descriptions... I vaguely know the word apogee and perigee. I didn't actually know what they meant until now. But what I do know is that they change because I've looked at the bloody thing. I didn't need it labelling. You know what I mean? I know that's the case. You know, this guy doesn't.
You've seen him smaller and bigger. You're seeing it smaller and bigger. Like.
I don't need it labelling. I didn't need to have it described as a phenomena for me to go, yeah, it looks bigger sometimes, closer to the horizon. Why? Because I've seen it. Because I've looked at it. This dickhead's got his own bloody head in the shot when he's got the moon being described, and he's taking apart his own straw man for us.
Off to 5,000 or 6,000 miles away. So the moon should actually change in size quite drastically. It should start very small, get big.
Change in size? No, that's... You've just described its elevation changing. Oh. So he's literally undone it based on how we'd undo a stupid flat earther claiming this nonsense of a height to the moon. We go, all right, so when it reaches the horizon, is it at zero? Is it crashing into the ground? Right? But now he's described that it should be getting bigger and smaller. It's like, no, it does actually get bigger and smaller. Right? We can actually show that. But you're now superimposing a visual size change to what undoes the claim of angle versus height change. I mean, he doesn't even understand his own logic, it seems.
Bigger and bigger and bigger until it gets overhead.
But no, higher and higher and higher. Oh my God. Oh God, thick.
And then transit and going smaller and smaller and smaller.
Lower and lower and lower and lower. Based on your logic that you just doled out.
But it doesn't do that. It stays the same size, which means...
stays the same angle. Right? It would need to, if you're going to assert this. But it doesn't. It gets closer and closer to the horizon.
That it has to stay the same relevant distance away from the viewer.
Does it? No, it doesn't. We don't know what it is to know how it should behave. You're superimposing your physical assumption bias onto a flat earth straw man that you're burning. I don't know how it should behave. What I know is what you can use it for. How you can get its zenith position. The GP. You can measure angles to it. Those things I do know. It doesn't require I know what it should do. I know what it can be used for. And how a flat earth is used to do it.
Which means it would have to be travelling in an arc above one vantage point.
It does travel in an arc! Oh my God, you have never watched the moon. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but these celestial items, I am fascinated by them. Not so much since I've had children, you just don't have the time, and occasionally, when I get time, I'll take my kids outside, get them in the coats when they're all cold, and show them something that the moon's doing, a moon dog or a big spiral around the moon in the middle of the night when it's hazy, things like that. I'll point out to them how it's moving in an arc, how the sun moves in a vector from our position. Now, those are things that I do when I get chance. Tell my kids to observe. Pay attention to how it's moving now we're in winter. How it moves in an arc. I'm telling my 6-year-old this and you've never even looked at it, have you?
Nathan.
Yes.
Every position of the sun or moon in the sky is in degrees, which can be, which is like a protractor, which is an arc. That's how you would describe it.
It looks like we're going a bit later live, guys. 110 people watching. Thank you so much to you. Smash the share button. It's really important. I really want to get the numbers up after pissing around with a new computer for months, getting it streamlined, and being attacked by Bob Nodell and people like, what's his name, Jaron, and most recently, who's that nobody that's doing it recently, Bev. You know, there's a few people, and it'd be nice to get back up to a consistent 120 to 150 people watching per live show. That would be lovely. But it's sort of, you know, steadily dropped, and now we're getting back up there. 120 people would be the ideal, but 110, fantastic. Thank you for sharing. We will go live a little bit longer.
But it stays the same at every single vantage point. So it would have to be staying at the same distance away from every single vantage point at the exact same time, which again...
Yeah, we don't know. We asked Daily for the distance to the sun. I mean, I could include distance to the moon, but it's just automatically assumed that you understand the principle of these celestial objects we don't know anything about, and us asking for the distance to the sun is the same principle. Shouldn't have to explain that, but I'm going to because you're dumb. Yeah, we don't know the distance to it. You're the only one with a positive claim as a heliocentrist in this regard. You need to defend that claim of a 93 million mile sun. Bearing in mind that I think twice on this show alone, I've gone through how that isn't the case and how we can debunk it. You're going to struggle, mate. But we don't have a positive claim in this regard. And your assumptions about how the moon should work in your own model are wrong. Saying that the apparent size doesn't change. Yeah, it does. You're thick. You've never watched the moon. Go on, whoever that is making a noise. AI Overlord, do you want to just pop yourself on mute unless you've got something to add?
Again, does not work for a moon that is only 3,000 miles away.
Or a moon that's changing in elevation as you described it and then decided to change it with size. Apparent size. Thick. He hasn't even thought through his own logic. Oh, unskippable lad. Any comments while we're waiting?
Well, as I said earlier, it's all done in degrees. All these, when you're taking the angle to the moon, it's in degrees. And that is because if you want to view that orthographically, you have to show it as like a protractor, as an arc, orthographically, because you can't show it in perspective view on a page so easy, on a piece of paper or whatever on a screen. So an arc is like he claimed there was no arc. A moon was making an arc or something like that, or we would have to be making an arc. It is, but an arc is an arc of degrees. I don't know. This guy has done no learning about the subject whatsoever.
Yeah, they never think to their own logic. They just drown it out their mouth.
What's more egregious is getting it wrong about his own model when comparing it to the actual observations of the moon. Now, the reason I say that's more egregious is because in the first instance, the thing that he started off by saying is these are things that you can go out and look at for yourself. Now, for me, it's now glaringly obvious. He has never done that. He's never gone out for himself. So what he's doing to share his pain is projecting his own inability to go out and have a look at the moon for himself onto his audience by declaring things incorrectly as being just so. I know you're getting it all wrong. But yet you're like so arrogant, like all anti-flat earthers. Like, oh, it's so obvious when I make up this stupid nonsense that's wrong about how the moon behaves. Clearly you've never looked at it.
Would always appear to be above that plane, especially one 3,000 miles above that plane. Even if we take a worst case scenario here and say the moon is 3,000 miles above the equator over...
The equator, back to describing something that's a convention derived from a flat plane. And a 3,000 mile high moon that would be defied by... That's why his drawing, by the way, was just across in a straight line. Because he didn't need his example to have a curve in it when he was saying it would curve. It does curve, but not in his stupid diagram when it moved in a straight line from the horizon. Just crap. Just thoroughly useless.
For South America.
How many views has this shite got? Where's the view count these days? Never seem to figure out where it is anymore. 103,000 views in 3 weeks from a guy with 35,000 subscribers. 103,000 views. Yeah? Put out any old shite that's anti-flat earth and you'll get 100,000 views. Unbelievable. It's all wrong. Yeah? This is YouTube's preferred content. Guy doesn't understand his own model. 100,000 views. Why? Because you'll get promoted. Type in flat earth. This is likely to come up. If it's been published on the day you type it in, it'll come up first. And rack up 100,000 views. With completely wrong information throughout on both sides of the argument. Both sides of his own straw man have got incorrect information about them. Just shocking. When people ask me in the comments, does it piss you off that Dan gets 200,000 views on a crap video with crap editing? And I go, yeah, it does. Yeah, it really does actually piss me off.
And you're standing on the ice wall on the opposing side of the Earth.
But what ice wall? The projection of an azimuthal equidistant ice wall in a heliocentric globe Earth azimuthal projection converted by Haversine to globe from flat Earth. You're going to put us on an what ice wall? Oh, it's just another straw man that he's regurgitating. I didn't say there's an ice wall. Who said that?
Basic trigonometry, you can see that the viewing angle for the moon is still 14 degrees above the horizon.
Wouldn't that put it lower? Why have you still got it labelled as 3,000 miles?
If you made it all the way to the edge of the world, the moon at its furthest point from you shouldn't be anywhere near the horizon.
Wouldn't this make it lower? Doesn't this kind of eradicate your stupid, nonsensical strawman point that you were burning 30 seconds ago? It's lower. So what, lower to the ground? So it's about to crash into the ground, is it? Stupid idiot.
Less. Going below the horizon.
Below the horizon, below the physical geometric sphere edge reified into the edge of Antarctica now. Previously, the horizon was up here when it moved across. Now the horizon's dropping off the edge of a disc. You're the only one with things falling over the edge, mate. Even in your strawman model of a flat Earth, it wouldn't be falling over the edge based on your demonstration of a sun on the horizon starting up here. But now suddenly it's falling off the edge of this pizza pie you've reified and then burnt as a straw man. Why would it be doing that? Given that it stayed exactly the same height above your orthographic view in the last demonstration.
And then staying below the horizon for half a day before reappearing.
Where's Arwin? Arwin says, if you get it really badly wrong, fuck it up enough and they'll give you 100,000 views. Here's your perfect example of it, Arwin. You get it completely arse about face, upside down, back to front wrong. They'll put you right at the top of the bloody lists and give you 100,000 views.
Hearing near you again. Now, so
now it's going up and down. Wasn't just going round and round or straight across in an orthographic view. Now it's falling over the edge of the fucking ice wall that we haven't claimed.
Flat earthers have tried to argue that it's the opacity of the atmosphere.
Sorry, flat earthers have tried to argue offers up one person in his comment section. That this dude represents all the flat earthers then, does he? Stereotyping fallacy clown show.
Sphere that causes this illusion. Whatever the fucking hell any of that means. If that was the case and there was some fanciful magic going on that would make the atmosphere magnify the...
Sorry, atmo what now? Atmo, that's air. Sphere? Atmosphere? No, air isn't sphere-shaped. Air, atmo, takes the shape of its containment. Why would you beg the question that air is arbitrarily taking the shape of a sphere? Definitely not, my friend. It's you being brainwashed into an assumption that you can have a sphere Earth in a vacuum. Because, well, I assume air takes a sphere shape and doesn't expand into vacuums in line with entropic law. Atmo what now?
The moon to the point of doubling its size at the horizons.
Sorry, again, you said that this wouldn't happen and should if we're on a flat Earth, but it most assuredly is measured to be doing that. Something you said it wouldn't, couldn't, and would have to, based on a flat Earth straw man. So again, I'll just point out this dickhead doesn't ever look at the moon or have the slightest idea what it does. Otherwise, he'd know what it did because he'd have seen it do it.
But not overhead. Then whenever I see a plane travel from the horizon, fly overhead and disappear off into the distance, it should also remain the same size. It should appear as big to me on the horizons as it does directly overhead.
Why? You've got a physical assumption bias that the moon is the same as an aeroplane. No, it clearly doesn't behave the same as an aeroplane, so why would assume that it's physical? Or sphere-shaped? Or in an orbit? Or whirling around a sphere-shaped Earth with an R value assumed to be the same as Venus's, to give me a 250,000 mile moon and a 93 million mile sun? Why would I do any of that when it doesn't behave like a plane, as you rightly point out? I mean, you didn't realise that. Your assumption is that it does not change? Yeah, it does. So clearly, by your own admission now, contradiction to one of your points that you made earlier that made no sense, you're now conceding that it does change? What, not in line with our plane, it starts far away and small, comes close. Yeah, that's because you know it's getting closer. But the moon doesn't behave that way, or why would I assume it's a physical rock in a sky vacuum then?
I know, even you can wrap your head around this.
But let me get it right. You think the dog has wrapped its head around your fucking logic? Yeah, the dog had a better chance of doing it than you did, because you didn't understand your own logic, which you contradicted twice.
But it doesn't, so atmospheric trickery doesn't seem...
Right, atmospheric? Sphere-shaped air trickery? You think there's sphere-shaped air tricking you? Air isn't taking the shape of a sphere, my friend. It takes the shape of its containment. Were you unaware of gas behaviour? when you parroted off this indoctrinated term that you're now using, atmosphere, sphere-shaped air. That's an oxymoron. Air doesn't take the shape of a sphere, it takes the shape of its containment. Stupid idiot.
To fit into that either, unless...
So fit into what? Its containment? The sphere-shaped air? Yeah, it'd need containment.
The atmosphere is very selective.
And selective? It's got sentient now. It's deciding where it's going to be.
Of thinking I'm going to magnify...
Right, no, gas doesn't think.
Up to try and 1,000 miles above the equator, and there was some fanciful magic going on that would make the atmosphere magnify the moon to the point of doubling its size.
Again, let's just show that. There you go, Dumbo. Maybe have a look at the moon before you make any claims about it next time.
At the horizons, but not overhead. Then whenever I see a plane travel from the horizon, fly overhead and disappear off into the distance, it should also remain the same size. It should have...
Should it? No, that's not how perspective works, Dumbo. But clearly, the moon isn't doing that, is it? Yeah? So we know where it's at in terms of its zenith, and we can utilise that for the celestial navigation. But as for inferring orbital mechanics, no, you're not going to get away with that.
Appear as big to me on the horizons as it does directly overhead. I know, even you can wrap your head around this. But it doesn't, so atmospheric trickery doesn't seem to fit into that either. Unless the atmosphere is very selective of thinking I'm going to magnify the moon today, but I'm not going to magnify a plane.
Just show that for him, because he's thick as shit and has never looked at the moon. And then point out that it's not sentient. Atmosphere, sphere-shaped air doesn't decide anything. That's a reification fallacy and an oxymoron.
Observation 4.
You haven't made any observations. I know for a fact you've not done these observations. If you had, there's a good chance, knowing that you were going to make a video, you'd take some pictures of it, of your own.
We only see one face of the moon. Again,
that kind of pisses in the face of it being a sphere, doesn't it?
Where in the world we only see one face of the moon?
Where in the world? Sorry, wouldn't we see different sides if it was a sphere? Doesn't that kind of undo your begging the question fallacy?
If the moon was 3,000 miles and orbiting the equator, then...
But if it's back to the straw man that you're not proving a 93 million mile sun and a 250,000 mile moon, just going to burn the straw man that we're not claiming over and over again.
When you're viewing it from the northern hemisphere, you...
Wait, northern what now? Hemisphere? Where's that? On this flat pizza pie straw man. Clearly you don't understand the language you're using. Hemisphere, sphere-shaped bottom of the world, you assume. Well, number one, that's not on this model, is it, dickhead? Where is the hemisphere? It's not there, is it, Dumbo?
You would see a completely different vantage point than the...
What, if you assumed you're on the bottom of a sphere, you'd have a different vantage point? Yeah, no shit. No kidding. But you have to assume that you're hanging off the bottom of a sphere.
Southern hemisphere, you would be looking at opposite sides of...
Oh, you think this demonstrates what seeing things from the bottom of a sphere looks like when you project it onto a flat pancake? No, mate, this isn't the bottom of a sphere. Why are you drawing lines and describing what happens in hemispheres when you're showing it on a flat pizza pie? What a thicko. Do you not understand the words coming out of your own mouth?
The moon. Now, I've seen flat earthers try and argue this away by using the analogy of sticking a picture to the ceiling and looking at it from opposite sides. But these people seem to overlook a small fact that the moon is not a flat picture stuck to the ceiling. It's a...
But it behaves in that way. So they're making an analogy. So if somebody describes something as being as something else, is your criticism, well, it's not that other thing that you've used an analogy? No shit, Sherlock Holmes. Yet we realise that when you turn around and look at the moon from a different position that it might look the other way around. It doesn't mean that we're inferring it's a piece of paper. Are you really going to attack this part of the argument, you stupid cretin?
A three-dimensional object.
Why, when you've just told us that we always see it looking the same from all vantage points? That doesn't infer any 3D sphericity. Quite the opposite.
So if I stick a three-dimensional object to the ceiling...
There's a good chance you'll see the other side of it when you move to the other side of it, right?
From one side, I'm viewing...
Notice how we're seeing the back side of this sphere now. The moon doesn't do that, you stupid shithead. Why are you showing this? The moon does not behave like that. My God, this guy's thick as shit.
This side, From this...
So what, we can see this seam now, like on the arse side of the moon? You can see the back half of it now. So, of the two demonstrations, one did behave like the moon when it was a piece of paper on the ceiling, and one showed the arse side of it. Not the way we see it. What a thicko. Give him 100,000 views, YouTube. Preferred content.
Side, I'm seeing a complete...
You see the back side of it?
Completely different face of it.
Yeah! Something that doesn't happen. But what if it was a sphere, we'd see the back side of it? So you are essentially debunking the heliocentric moon claim then?
An observation 5.
Sorry, is that the end of the demonstration? You've just debunked the moon in its sphericity in terms of seeing the backside of it, but moving on. Yeah, give him 100,000 views. This is definitely preferred content. I see no reason to give him 1 million.
I've basically ties into the previous 4 observations.
Other than it debunked the arse side of the moon being shown in a heliocentric model by your demonstration, you stupid clown. So should I trim this out as a debunking of how the moon isn't spherical based on a heliocentric demonstration that you just gave? What a clown!
We only ever see the one face.
Are you pausing for thought? You should be, because you've just undone a claim of heliocentrism that you detailed personally 2 minutes earlier.
The face changes orientation depending on our latitude. Now...
Does it? Right, you've shown this, have you? Thinking not. I don't think when you go to a different latitude you see the arse side of the moon, do you, Dumbo? Like in your demonstration that you just gave us? Are you linking that to the demonstration you gave us? Because that is definitely not the case.
It doesn't work on a flat Earth model.
No. Doesn't work on a globe. You've just shown us how.
Because it basically ties into the previous 4 observations.
That weren't demonstrated in your visual depiction of a sphere moon. It did not work the way you showed it.
The moon can't be 3,000 miles away and only very small.
Nobody's claiming it is other than you, so you're debunking your own stupid claim?
Because you wouldn't see different orientations of the same face.
What, of the same face? Sorry, why'd you say the same face when you showed us the arse side of it in your demonstration, mate? Seems like you're struggling there.
Would be seeing completely different faces depending on...
Yeah, you would on a sphere too.
On your latitude. So the moon would have...
Latitude, back to using a claim that could only be derived from a flat plane elevation angle measurement to these lights in the sky, and those angles don't change with altitude, completely undoing your straw man.
Have to be 250,000 miles away.
Why? Would it have to be 250,000 miles away? For it to be a sphere and show no change?
But with the moon then orbiting 250,000 miles above a flat...
Sorry, orbiting superimposed onto a flat pizza pie. So you've bastardized your original claim that you haven't proven and we can disprove, based on your R-value assumption that we have debunked, and your orbital motion that's presupposed and requires that R-value we have debunked, and requires a sphere-shaped surface with a curved edge for things to move behind and down below. All of which we've debunked. But now you're just going to keep burning this stupid straw man over and over again.
At Earth, it's just circling overhead, and we're all on a flat plane. We're all seeing exactly the same thing.
Right, so this is just your claim now. This isn't our claim, dickhead.
The only way that we can see different orientations of the face of the moon that we...
Of the same face of the moon. Right, based on this two-dimensional picture... Why would you show it in this way? Surely if I go on the back side of this demonstration, I could see the arse side of the moon, couldn't I? Based on this depiction alone, I can show how what you showed a sphere to do on your ceiling would be what I would see from the arse side of this demonstration. I'd see the back side of it from this side, the other side of a sphere Earth. And we don't. We did in your demonstration, though.
We have no control over is if the person's vantage point...
Look at this stupid nonsense, right? So you think people hang antipodal off the bottom of a sphere, do you? In a sky vacuum? This is idiotic. Seeing it drawn by a numpty really does highlight how stupid the assertion is. Hanging upside down antipodal on the bottom of a sphere Earth. It looks absolutely ludicrous.
Is a different orientation, which only works on a globe.
What? Seeing the arse side of the moon would work, but you don't. So therefore you superimpose a massive distance based on an R value we've debunked, and an edge to a horizon we've also debunked, and an orbital motion that we've debunked.
So the observations that we can make of the moon don't
prove that you're on a flat plane if you're using them for anything actually applicable, like navigation, which you can, and you need flat Earth elevation angle measurements. That's a practical demonstration of what you can do with the moon, as opposed to just looking at it, which you haven't. That's blatantly obvious.
Don't fit to flat Earth models.
No, don't fit to your flat Earth straw man. That you didn't understand and implied faulty logic when taking it apart, and debunked your own side of the straw man when you hung up a sphere and showed the back side of it.
You can make it account for some observations, like...
You can make it account for some observations, can you? Well, you can wrestle with your own cognitive pain when it comes to flat Earth, mate. This ain't my claim.
Moving the moon much further away.
No, we don't have to do that. We ask for you, the guy with the positive claim, to justify your distance to your celestial item you're using.
Then that means that your observations of the moon versus the sun don't fit, so you have to move the sun.
Fit with what? We haven't got to have them fit with anything. They fit with celestial navigation, based on where they are above at a given time. That's called their GP, ground position. Where you look up at the moon if you were there and it was above you at your zenith. That's useful. You can do things with it. Navigate, save your own life if you get lost at sea. That's what you can do with the moon. You describing what you can look at when you haven't is absolutely pathetic. It's not a practical demonstration of anything. It's not useful for anything beyond you getting past your cognitive pain when you contemplate flat Earth badly.
Further away, but then the observations that we make of the sun versus what it is able to light of the Earth.
Which observations are those? Show me one that you've made. Oh, you haven't? Yeah, we can tell.
At any one time, then don't fit. Every time.
No, we can show examples on your maps that claim to be spherical that don't work. Like Seleninian. Like the impossible eclipse. We can show things that actually don't work. You didn't do that. You burnt examples in a flat Earth straw man that we aren't claiming, as you wrestle with your incomprehension of a flat plane. Shout out to Skeptic936, who says, thanks for extending the show, Nathan. Absolutely my pleasure. When I can get the show to be shared more and get more people in front of it, I'm more than happy to stay live. Thank you for sharing it.
Time a flat Earth and moves the goalposts of the flat Earth model to try and...
Moves the goalposts of your flat Earth model. So what you're saying is if somebody disagrees with your flat Earth burning straw man model, that's moving the goalposts, is it? The goalposts that you set up on your pitch with your team, with your sponsor. You think we're moving those goalposts, you dickhead? Now learn what a straw man is. It's a fallacy, idiot.
Explain one argument, they open up a can of worms of another observation that then doesn't fit.
So no, we did it with your observation that didn't fit. You gave us an example and showed how it didn't fit. That's not me opening up a can of worms, it's you.
So they have to then move the goalpost again. So basically
What goalpost did I move? You gave a demonstration that was clear and obvious of seeing the arse side of a sphere. And then detailed how you wouldn't have that on a flat Earth, but didn't explain how you would have it on a globe. You hand-waved the fact that you don't have it on a globe. That's a total fail.
There's no one flat Earth model. The flat Earth model is...
Right, all flat Earth models, in quotes, have all come from the same origin. They've all come from angle measurements off a flat plane to the lights in the sky. Something you clearly didn't realise. So any of the globe models you hold up and reify, not that we've ever seen an actual working globe model, but they've all come from, in the case of maps, flat Earth elevation angle measurements. This is so above this guy's pay grade. This is for my audience only, because this dumb fuck's never going to understand any of this.
Basically fluid. Constantly having to change depending on which particular...
Really? You think celestial navigation has changed? No, mate. When I lay down a flat Earth proof, it's based on something that's been done for a considerable amount of time and has saved lives. A practical application of a flat Earth elevation angle measurement. That's what I use. Do you want to debunk that and tell me it's changed? It's fluid? That I'm moving the fucking goalposts When I say now you can measure angles off a flat plane to lights in the sky and work out where the hell you are by drawing two-dimensional circles on two-dimensional maps.
The problem they are trying to solve.
And what problem? The problem of navigation's been solved by way of elevation angle measurements to the lights in the sky and having a really good understanding of where they'll be above at what time. So no change needed, mate.
Which leads us to only one clear conclusion.
Earth's flat, you need elevation angle measurements to navigate it. Earth's flat, you build on it that way, with levels. Earth's flat, you haven't got orbital motions unless you assume an R value we've debunked, and a geometric physical limitation to your view at the horizon we've also debunked, and assume that what perspective somehow works into a debunking of a straw man when your model doesn't include it? You have failed so badly. Again, I'll just point this out to YouTube. Give him 100,000 views. This is preferred content.
Either the people who are advocating that the Earth is flat don't actually believe their own bullshit, and they know...
Sorry, the people who are navigating on a flat plane when they use the stars to find their way around? You talking to them? Like experienced navigators that save people's lives? Those people, are you talking to them, dickhead?
Full well that the Earth can only work as a globe.
What, when they measure a flat Earth elevation angle measurement to a light in the sky to figure out where they are with triangulation? Do you think they know it's a sphere when they measure an angle from a flat plane with a sextant? I don't think you know much about this subject, do you, my friend?
They just fancy having a giggle.
Fancy a giggle about lives being lost if we don't find our fucking way when lost at sea? And use flat Earth elevation angle measurements to the lights in the sky to find out where the hell we are on a flat map, because they're all flat. They must be to work in this way. When navigating the flat plane, we actually are living on, my friend. That's not us having a giggle. Nobody's giggling when they're lost at sea and they need a sextant to save their lives. And they need a flat Earth appreciation to do it with. Nobody's laughing then, my friend. We're laughing at you, though, for being a clown and showing a sphere and the arse side of it when detailing what a sphere doesn't do.
Or B, they do genuinely think that the Earth is flat.
We know it's flat. It's navigated that way. Look into celestial navigation, you total clown.
In which case, for the sake of society, they probably shouldn't be allowed to operate anything sharper than a spoon.
Really? So based on the fact that you're a completely incompetent buffoon, I suggest that you should be locked up and gang raped in prison. Because that's totally reasonable. Not given the permission to use heavy equipment. So you're saying that as a part of society, I should be limited for my understanding of celestial navigation? What fucking outrage.
Anyway.
Sorry, isn't that prejudicing and somehow? Isn't that bullying? Isn't that totally unreasonable by the standards of the YouTube terms of service?
Oh, that's actually discrimination.
Yeah.
It is discrimination.
So is it inciting discrimination against a group of people based on their understanding of how celestial navigation works? You think we should be limited from using heavy equipment? So would you class a boat out at sea as heavy equipment? When the guy tells the captain which fucking way to point the boat after using a sextant and measuring angles from a flat plane, do you think it shouldn't be the case that he should be allowed to tell the captain which direction to point the boat in? That's pretty fucking heavy. So, this dickhead thinks you should sack navigators because the boats, which are classed as heavy equipment, shouldn't be pointed in a given direction because they know they're measuring a flat plane when they take angles from it. It can't be working any other way. But this clown says you should be sacked. Dickhead, next time you're out on a boat or in an aeroplane and they lose all the equipment and navigation ability, their last resort's a sextant and a flat plane measuring angle device. But they should be sacked also, should they, as a plane heavy equipment when they get out their sextant to measure a flat plane on the plane, in their aeroplane. Yeah,
Nathan,
dickhead?
Is this sorry for interrupting.
No, go ahead.
Is this guy saying the flat earthers shouldn't be allowed to operate heavy machinery?
Yes.
What, like tower cranes and aeroplanes?
Yes, that's what he's saying.
The tower cranes. 1 second, sorry. Yeah, do tower cranes move around like pendulums due to the Earth moving?
No, they do not.
No, because the Earth's not moving. Do airplanes and airplane pilots account for Earth curvature or
No.
rotation?
No, they do
No.
not. Neither.
So that would be heavy machinery, would it not? That
Yes,
would
it
be
would. Yes.
responsibility.
Yes.
Okay, they're all flat earthers then, other people that operate then.
Yeah. According to this dickhead who's prejudicing people and saying that they should be limited in their scope of employment, he gets the 100,000 views, doesn't he? What an outrage. So you would limit these people that potentially saving your lives and building the buildings that you're living in? You would limit them, would you, you stupid clown? Now, I'd limit you.
That concludes this particular video. As
conclusion, you're a dickhead. I'd sooner see you removed from YouTube for terms of terms of service violations. You know, it's just an outrage. You're basically bullying an entire group of people. And based on their understanding of how to navigate a flat plane, you'd have them out of a job. You would cause people to die. Because if the guy's saying, yeah, of course we measure elevation angle measurements from a flat plane, it's the only way we can do it. It's how it's done. Sack him immediately! That would be your attitude, right? Kick him off the boat.
Right,
You'd have
but it's
people die.
ridiculous because-
This man would have people die sooner than concede that the Earth's measured flat and navigated flat. It'd sooner die at sea.
Right, he didn't actually have a technical reason why we shouldn't. He's just like, oh, you disagree, or we disagree, and so you just got demoted. You lose your rights. That's real discrimination, because it's not like, oh, because this is what you do, therefore you might risk here in that situation. No. Just you disagree with us. Oh, you just got demoted. You're
This
not
is
allowed
unacceptable.
to do this anymore.
A societal standard, this is unacceptable. How flat earthers are treated, how it is deemed acceptable to prejudice us and limit us. This is unacceptable. Society should not tolerate this. Why is it that this guy thinks it's acceptable to limit the scope of anybody's potential based on what they understand about the nature of Earth? Regardless of whether he thinks they're right or wrong, that should not be allowed.
But just replace the word flat earther with another category. For example, a religious category or a race category, and you'll start to hear what we're talking about. It's really the flat earth that just woozes things up in people's minds that they don't recognize it. But just exchange the words they've been using and you'll see it. You'll see what it is.
Yeah.
How bad it is.
Substitute in Allah for flat earth and see the fucking outrage that you have to face. Yeah? Replace it with any group, the attitude that this guy's just taken, and see what happens. Right? But because we're not a protected group, it's acceptable to say, limit that person's, because they're in a group, ability to do X. What an absolute outrage. This should not be acceptable in a reasonable society. It isn't acceptable. With that, I'm going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. With my outrage, I'll say, though, a massive thank you to today's Discord and G Plus panels for making today's live show possible. I've been Nathan Oakley. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching an after show, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!
By lack of research and knowledge. I mean, I'd be laughed out of it. I'll make it 100,000 views off of the comedy element alone.
No, but people that actually don't know anything but pretend like they know things are very popular out there these days, because they don't make people feel dumb by them not understanding what the hell these people are talking about, because they actually do know what they're talking about. And so it frustrates the general dumb viewer. So they like somebody that just pretends, so they don't feel that dumb.
But you could be prosecuted if it was a religion that was in place of flat Earth. That notion would be inciting religious hatred.
Yep.
Right. So when it's flat Earth, it's just inciting hatred. Because we're not in a protected group.
It's not even just hatred. It's like trying to manipulate society to lower the literal class, the rights of a group of individuals.
Yes. Well, that's disgusting. And I'm sick of it. It's not. It should not be accepted. It shouldn't be tolerable for any group. That should not be acceptable.
I agree. That's what Nazis did.
Yeah, that's where it begins.
They'd have to recognize us for that to happen, and I don't know if that would be a good thing if they did recognize us. I don't know if that would be. They don't recognize us because that would mean that we exist. But if they put us into a group, then we'll just be a group. You know what I mean? You know, it's just this group with this opinion. That's all we'd be. So I'm kind of happy that we're not put into a group, because we're not just some group with just some opinions, and that's the difference. The groups that are out there, they have opinions, whether it be religious or to do with sexuality or whatever. They've got opinions. You know, if it's race, it's opinions. You know, and that's basically what it is. Outside of any, you know, whatever that they claim would be an evidence for their opinion, it's just an opinion. We are not coming with opinions. We're coming with something we can prove, or something that we will absolutely outright state is just conjecture. We don't mess around in between. So we don't have just opinions. Groups have opinions. We don't have them.
Right, but the protected classes are different categories based on our ontological status, like male or female, with just arbitrational facts.
You're roboting bad, dude.
Yeah, you are. You're roboting. I could make out 60% of it, though.
Just before AI comes back, are you staying on for a while, Nathan? Because I have a video, don't know if you're interested in it or not, but from Bev the other night attacking the Black Swan. If you were interested in playing some of that. But if not, don't worry about it.
Yeah, I'll cover it. I was...
Would like to hear that.
Are you sure you want to go there right after Christmas? I mean,
I said I would like to go there, and we'll bring in our correspondent to Bev, which is Brian.
What was it Nathan was trying to say a second ago?
I was just going to mention Rufy. How's that geometric horizon working out for you, buddy? He was asking you, can we not use a bent line to a bent Earth? So I went and got him the definition of a tangent and started laughing at him, and I was like, is the penny finally dropping, Dumbo? Only took you 3 years. Wow.
Hey, Nathan.
Hello.
Hey, did you get that email? Did you check your email right quick?
No, I'm not in front of my email right this second, sorry.
Oh, okay, later on then.
Have you just sent it? I'll probably get to it tomorrow. My email takes a while to update on my iPad from AOL. So I tend to check my email from yesterday, the following day. So I'll probably get it tomorrow.
I don't think he understands. You are the laziest person here. Email? Yeah, right.
Is there a particular time slot you want us to cover, by the way?
Yeah, if you go, I have it in Master D from earlier. It's Model Affliction Monday, and it's from around 17 minutes to, it starts just after 17 minutes, he pulls up the Black Swan. It goes on to about 15, 20 minutes after that. But I don't know, so he might just leave, I don't know how long he goes on. There's about a 15, 20 minute time frame where he talks about the Black Swan, and he talks about it after that, I think, or he alludes to that and awesome whatever. But it's just the amount of things he has wrong. That's why I made the video I made. And if you notice, I didn't mention him in the video. I just darkly, vaguely alluded to him and his cohorts, because that's what they do. they darkly, vaguely allude to people. You know, so you don't know who they're really talking about. You know, this is what they do. It's this ridiculous, childish nonsense. But that's what they do. They're not able to be honest.
But that was the idea, that you could use this logical process within science. I mean, it's obvious. Of course you can. that idea is not new. So for anybody thinking that Karl Popper brought that in, I'd say that's part of a big, massive play. Of course, the logical process was already known within mathematics.
What is he blabbering about?
It's not a new process, this. So, Modus Tollens makes its way in. Now, Modus Tollens is one of the oldest. It goes all the way back to antiquity. Goes about as far back as you can for a reasoning process. It only involves two things. It involves a P, an antecedent, and a Q, a consequent. And these two things have to follow each other. Now, when QE developed what he calls the Black Swan, the formulation of the thing, let me see if I can find it. Let me get the QE's BS.
If P, the Earth is a sphere, radius 3959 miles, then Q, every distance to horizon measurement can be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. Not Q, distance to horizon beyond 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. Therefore, not P. Earth is not a sphere, radius 3959, and the horizon is not Earth curve.
I saved this from the beginning of...
Can I just add something quickly?
I wanted
you go first, Adam, and Arwen, you go
Adam.
first.
Right. I just wanted to notice that I'm clearly hearing that Bev is doing this supposed little presentation about his understanding of the Modus Tollens, while Nathan didn't have to look anything up. He literally, I know he didn't just have the definition in front of his nose and he just knows it by heart, right? That's the difference. I mean, Bev is doing a presentation and he still has to look shit up while he's doing it. That's how smart he is.
Brian, can I say something real quick? That PC back they called it QE's BS. He's a little sneaky little snide bastard.
Yeah, I think that's what the name is he has on the
you know why he's saying that. He could have said Black Swan. He's saying QE's bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah, well, look, what this is all about is, just to give a little bit of background on it for anyone that doesn't know, is what they're really attacking is they're trying to attack the whole premise. He's going to try and attack that no one measured the distance to the horizon. QE or any of us never claimed that there was a distance measurement to the horizon. That claim is on the globe side. That's what's being, it's their geometry that's being taken apart. But more than that, they start attacking the fact that in what he's going to show there on screen, that the final not P statement doesn't have so Earth is not a globe of 3959 radius. He didn't put in the 3959 radius at the end because he doesn't need to. The globe can only be 3959 radius. It can't be more than that. It can't be less than that. It has to be exactly that. So if we show that there is no way that the claimed process of measurement of this geometry to get to 3959 cannot exist, then that means the globe cannot exist.
And
but they don't understand that.
The reason it has to be an Earth sphere radius 3959 is because it matches up with the latitude lines that have derived from the angle measurements to the lights in the sky. The moment you change the R value, it no longer measures up with the angle measurements to the lights in the sky. After you bastardize the angle measurement from being from a flat plane and superimpose an R value, they still have to match up with the lines drawn on your globe. And as soon as you inflate the size of the globe, it doesn't match anymore. So it can only be an Earth sphere radius 3959. Once you debunk that, oh, well, it's a 250,000 mile radius. Oh, really? And that means your latitude lines still match on the map, does it? No, obviously not. It has to be that radius. Once you disprove it's that radius, and the Earth sphere edge limitation to your view at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet is massively beyond that, then every aspect of the geometry of a sphere Earth fails. That's the point.
Exactly, Nathan. The whole they don't have Bev has no understanding of the latitude and longitude grid, its origins, or why it's laid out the way it's laid out. It all comes from it all starts and ends with observations to Polaris, if you want to be really specific. And if you change the size of the radius, make it smaller or bigger, then those observations will not fit the globe Earth. So it can't ever be anything other than 3959. So once you debunk it being a geometry of 3959, and what they claimed was how they measured the geometry, then you don't need to add in 3959 at the end. It's not a necessity. It's debunked. But isn't it funny that Ruhif and others, agreed with Bev that QE should have put in, it's not a globe of 3959, because the ballers will go along with that because they want to be able to say, well, maybe it's a slightly different sized globe. Do you know what I mean? None of the two camps, whether it's the ballers or Bev's camp, understand this. Yet Bev is doing a whole section here on how it's illogical. Wouldn't logic mean, if you were to use logic, wouldn't that be to research a topic and every aspect of it and talk to people before you'd decide that it's illogical? The logical thing to do would be that, wouldn't it, before you decide to attack it? You know, yeah, he's going to talk about logic to everyone.
When we started to do this.
Oh.
No, go on, Al. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. So in the spirit of logic and in the spirit of being pedantic and schoolyard antics, where I know something you don't know, modus tollens is not specifically limited to antecedent-consequent relationships. Like an antecedent is a prior state, and the consequent is a necessary state that follows. However, there can be states that are concurrent. So they're just properties of a thing. So both properties must exist for that thing to exist. So once again, like there's this trend in flat Earth right now to find ways to scrutinize other flat Earthers to make yourself stand out. Like, you know, did you ever hear that bananas really aren't yellow? They're green, but then they were changed, genetically modified through curation by the guys, and then it became yellow. Did you know that? Oh yeah, dude, I totally learned that last week on YouTube. I mean, this is what it's come down to at this stage.
Sure, but he's missing the antecedent consequent relationship that does exist in the P statement. Earth being a sphere radius 3959. That's the antecedent consequent. If Earth's a sphere radius 3959, those two things are intrinsically linked for the mapping and the modelling of an Earth sphere radius 3959 to exist. So that's the antecedent consequent. Earth being a sphere radius 3959 miles. Anyway.
Because I thought this was quite a formulative thing. Let me see if I can shift that. Where is it? There you go. There you go. Right, so this is I don't know whether anybody else is ready, right? This is everybody should know this from being in this arena.
Well, why don't you then? Why did you have to spend literally 25 seconds preparing yourself now?
Now, we're going to go through it. Exactly what's said.
You've only been repeating it for 3 years, by the way. If you're an audience member and you are new to this, 3 years we've been going through this.
And see whether we can point out a glaring fallacy.
What? In the fallacy? I don't get it. It's been out for 3 years.
That See, nobody seems to have noticed, or if anybody has noticed it, nobody dare.
Is there enough preamble? There's been a solid minute of preamble since getting this up on screen. Do you realise that? I mean, he's a master at gaslighting, isn't he, this dickhead?
Say anything to anybody about it.
Why do we get all this preamble? It's just Bev gaslighting his panel.
Because one of these paralogisms, you're not allowed to question these people. It's like saying about Santa.
What the fuck are you talking about? I offer an open link and you came in and questioned us. What's he talking about?
Hey, Nathan, just real quick. Nathan, are you streaming live right now on YouTube? Yes or no?
No.
No?
No.
How long ago did you stop your streaming?
20 minutes? 25 minutes?
Almost 20 minutes.
Okay, so earlier you were streaming live, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so in another server, we're arguing of how YouTube censors you, and I was pointing out that right now he's streaming live, and I know he's streaming live, but when I search for it, you don't come up as live, and they're like, "That's false." I'm like, "No, you piece of shit. No, it is. It's accurate." So then right now they're like, "Well, let us look," right? And then they looked, and they're like, "We don't see him streaming live." And I told him, it's because he stopped streaming live. But earlier when he was streaming live, it didn't come up. I'm telling you, he's being censored. Even though I follow him, even though it should come up as live, when I type in Nathan Oakley, he's not even coming up as streaming live, even showing your little, like, subscribe here. Like, I'm just saying, you're being censored, and it's fucked up. But let me go back to the other server. God bless everybody.
No worries. We're well aware. It's nice to have somebody else verbalising it, because it tells my audience that it's not just me noticing it and pointing it out in my stats, and other people who are also YouTubers coming out and pointing it out in their stats, or other panel members pointing out about people they're subscribed to. You're basically a member of the audience going, "I'm trying to watch this show." I literally want to watch it, but I don't even get delivered it. So yeah, I do appreciate it.
That is messed up.
Been like that for ages, though. I mean, I'm not trying to downplay it, but that is how it is for us.
Excuse me, Nathan. That is actually happening, because the only way I'm able to tell when you're on live is I have to go to your both channels to look at your videos, and then I can see your red microphone.
Right.
That's indicative that you're on. Other than that, the home YouTube does not give me notifications or anything, and I'm a member.
Yep. No, I'm well aware. Yeah, it's the same for all of us. I mean, it just cracks me up when people come to the comment section and ask me about Simon Dan's popularity. Like, this is a specialist subject that I cover, but if you type in a very specific title of a video I'm covering with a specialty in it, I won't come up. Dan will come up. But you're like, what, going to rub it in my face that he gets more views than me? Or this guy that we were covering earlier? He's getting the 100,000 views because every person that searches for the thing I'm covering as a specialist subject, even though he's a complete amateur and is getting everything wrong, the people looking for this information are directed towards him. Doesn't matter how shit he is, doesn't matter how wrong he is, doesn't matter how many fallacies he uses, or how little he's appreciated and looked at the things he's saying, well, just go and look at them. None of that matters. He's against us. All right, we'll put him first. Give him the 100,000 views. Those views should be coming our way. They're not. We know why. You're telling us why. Anyway, let's get back to Bev.
And because they don't, because a lot of people don't find you in their searches, that's why it's so important to have a regular schedule. So people know when to expect a live stream, and they look for it themselves once they know about you.
Hey, can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
I just went to the Dave McKeegan guy, and I just left a comment, "You have been debunked," with a link to the episode right now that we just did, and they even wrote it out, just in case they take the link down. Flat Earth Debate 1798 episode, live, Nathan Oakley, 1980. I wrote it out, and that's the latest comment I put on his video.
If you put a link, it'll just automatically be removed. You're better off not putting a link and putting Nathan Oakley 1980 has debunked you on FED 1798. No link.
Yeah, that's what I did, but I guess I did put the link. Should I just go ahead and remove it?
No. I was just about to add to that. The trouble with that is, what do you think will happen if you type in Flat Earth Debate 1798? You'll get Simon Dan.
That's
what happened.
Get Simon Dan.
Literally, that's what happens. So, you know, we're between a rock and a hard place in that regard. But I do appreciate it. Yes, obviously spread the word. Actually, we'll come back to Bev in a moment, if that's okay with you, Brian. I don't know if I've mentioned this. I think I have. I've been more and more intrigued by Scientology. Yeah, I definitely have, because I was talking about them wrapping up heliocentrism in this religion.
What videos are you watching, Nathan? For we can watch them too.
Say again?
What videos on Scientology are you watching?
I was just about to recommend them. So, Growing Up in Scientology is the one channel, and I found his channel, who's the more popular of the two, ex-Scientologist, who was literally, as you can imagine, born into the religion, and then broke away from it after his 10,000-year contract was violated. But the guy who introduced me to this is a guy called Andrew Gold, who we've also covered, who's had Dr. Becky on. So we covered Andrew Gold. But as I said when we covered him, the reason I was interested in Andrew Gold was not because he was interviewing Dr. Becky and Professor Dave. It was because of my interest in Scientology, because of its direct connections to heliocentrism. You know, it's a heliocentric-based religion. So, based on that, that's why I was looking at Andrew Gold, who would probably be my first port of call, because there's a lot of overlap with other subjects. He's a good journalist, as far as I can tell. But while I was in Growing Up in Scientology's channel, Goldie, who you may be familiar with from our chat streams, was in there and said hello to me. Now, this, because it's just Goldie, I was like, okay, I do know a Goldie, but I don't know that this is just a random moderator, who she was a moderator for this guy, just happened to recognise my name and is about to ban me because she knows who I am. So I asked him, like, am I about to get banned? She's like, no, it's me, Goldie. I was like, oh, so it is actually that person from the chat that I recognise. And it's just an interesting connection that there's a mod for a Scientologist that's obviously well aware of Flat Earth. So to reassure me I wasn't going to get banned, she put a picture of a globe with a hammer next to it. In other words, look at my flatty. So yeah.
Also, have you heard of the big documentary one called Going Clear? I think it was on Netflix and everything.
Right, Going Clear. That's another guy that the Growing Up in Scientology guy covers. I can't remember his name, but I have watched one of his videos about the guy who made that documentary, whose name eludes me, because I'm relatively new to all this stuff. But I'm getting there. I'm starting to learn a bit of their rhetoric.
Also in Scientology, I just wanted to ask.
Hold on, Neil. Go ahead.
I just wanted to ask in Scientology.
Sorry, Gene.
I haven't looked into it that much, but is it only like a rich celebrity people thing?
No, far from it. So the way that didn't know I'd be put on the spot with this. I am very, very limited in my knowledge of Scientology. I'm just going to disclaim that now. The way they sucker people in is when you first look into the subject, you will either be confronted by somebody who's been well trained in telling you to just go and get a book rather than answering any of your questions. So that will be what you're faced with. You come across Scientology. Well, what's it all about? Well, I would suggest you go and buy a book on Scientology. Yeah, but tell me what does it offer? Well, maybe if you went and bought a book on it, you might find out. In other words, they're just generating book sales with that particular approach. But if you get to the point where you're actually looking into it, maybe you've bought a book, the way it gets pitched to you initially as just Joe Normal is that it's a very good way of succeeding in business, like a self-help course. And a lot of the things that they're actually promoting are good. Like with any good scam, right? There's a bit of truth at the beginning of it to sucker you in. But then what you're expected to do is fund your own progression through Scientology. Now, there is two different routes. You can be in Scientology as an administrator with your 10,000-year contract, and then your debt is being paid off by the fact that you're actually working for the church as whatever, an administrator or something. But should you ever choose to leave the church, they would then bill you. They'd say, well, you're just a freeloader here to get all the juicy information that Scientology has to offer, and now you're leaving. Well, you didn't pay any dues while you were working for us. You were getting all the information free, therefore you owe us considerable thousands of dollars to leave. You're in, like I say, this massive, never-ending contract with them. There you go. That's as much as I can tell you with my very, very limited understanding of Scientology thus far.
What about Leah Remini? She was involved in that. She got out. She's a big spokeswoman against it.
No, I'm not saying you can't leave. what I am saying is they've got a
So is
10,000 year contract.
So
with
is
you.
Tom Cruise? Is Tom Cruise still in it or not?
Yeah, it's like most important person in Scientology, behind David Scavenge or whatever he's called. So yeah, behind the
You
top
got
dog,
right,
he's the second guy. Miscavige, I think he's called.
I like Scavenger better because that's what he is.
Right, but after L. Ron Hubbard died, he's the guy who took over. So he's number one. But in terms of importance in Scientology, Tom Cruise is like the man. He's their most important celebrity asset.
What if their main intention is just to sell books?
I would love to say no. I don't think it's just that. There are other, obviously, means of earning income, but yeah, I mean, it's all designed to generate the church money.
Yeah, if I do remember correctly, there's a quote from the inceptor of that basically said, "If you want to get rich, just make your own religion."
Yeah, and they have, based on heliocentrism. That's all it is. Which is why I obviously have an interest in it. Because of, unlike the guy we covered today, this is an aspect of my opponent's position that I want to know about. Oh, right, there's an actual religion attached to this shit with the sky vacuum and things orbiting in it. And it's called Scientology. Scientology, like science, right? Oh, right, isn't it an interesting connection that we take apart the lack of science in the claims of heliocentrism, and yet the religious arm of it's called Scientology? If you're not looking at it, I thought to myself, you'd be foolish. You should look at this. There's got to be something juicy in there.
Get back to Bev.
I kind of want to get back to talking about psychopaths.
Who's
I don't want to
Bev?
hint that Bev is a psychopath, but there were certain aspects of the things that he was doing while we were going through it initially. So I listened back yesterday to one of the Uncut and After shows, and I'm listening to myself talk about Bev, and I'm like, I'm describing him casting a spell on his panel members and things like that. I'm phrasing it badly, but while I'm listening back and in the chat, I'm going, Nathan from the past, you idiot! It's gaslighting. That's what he's doing. It's gaslighting. Why didn't you spot it? It's like, because I haven't talked about psychopaths for probably 2.5 years. So it just shocked me how rusty you can get on some of these subjects so quickly to not spot something like that. Anyway, you want to cover Bev, do you? With the gaslighting. You want to pop yourself on mute, AI, unless... Did you want to add something? The clicking.
Yo,
Perfect,
is
thank you.
Bev a YouTuber? What is he?
Bev, just another YouTuber emulating what we do here.
Santa Claus when you're a child. Right? Everybody knows, right? It's not real. But you have to go along with it as though it is. Well,
this is gaslighting. So he's spent a solid minute and a half procrastinating around this and hasn't started to cover it yet. What he is doing is leading the people on his panel to a certain way of thinking before he covers it.
This is a modern...
Go on.
He stated just a moment beforehand, before that other man came in, about the censorship, that nobody's allowed to question this. I mean, where did that come from? No one's allowed to question it. No, it's open for anyone to question.
But he said it in such a way that it didn't qualify who he was talking about. So it just came across as a statement to his panel.
Yeah.
Well, that's useful, isn't it? Again, it's gaslighting. No one can question this. End statement. How does that sound to you now? Doesn't matter if it's superficial or otherwise. You're being told something, aren't you? Don't question this. He's inferring that we imply you can't question this, but he is the one covering it and talking about it and detailing it.
Yeah, it's kind of dark, vague, ambiguous, but yet...
But with purpose.
Serves a purpose.
It does, yeah. Now I know his game. It's easy to spot what he's doing. But like I say, when we first covered this, it just hadn't occurred to me, which kind of irritates me. It's like, why didn't it occur to you? should be on top of this sort of stuff. Anyway, my own irritation with myself is a different issue.
Day example of that very thing. What we call a modus tollens, the oldest form of argumentation ever, and one of the simplest forms of argumentation ever. I'll show you this one, and then I'll show you how to fix it and do a proper one without all of the bullshit involved in it. Right, so modus tollens. If P, then Q. That's the normal formulation of a logical argument. If P, then Q. The modus tollens part is not Q, therefore not P. Now there is nothing wrong with that. That is a modus tollens statement. And that's how you form a modus tollens. Normally you...
No, that's not how you form a modus tollens argument. That's the logical form of modus tollens. So even in his description, he's getting it wrong. That's not how you form a modus tollens. That would be imposing an argument into the logical consistency.
You try and simplify it as simple as possible. Well, here we go. This is QE's... yeah, everybody, if you don't want to be able to see this and you don't want to have to ask QE about this.
You know what I mean? Brainwashing little son of a bitch. If you don't want to analyse this and you don't want to approach QE about it, why would you be doing this? Why aren't you just going through the modus tollens? Why are you preempting them to do anything prior to you going through it?
Yeah, don't watch this. Just pretend you've never seen it and you can carry on thinking that this is a normal modus tollens.
Did you hear that? My God, he's literally brainwashing his panel.
It's only been out for that.
Programming.
Yeah. Wow.
Don't listen to this, guys.
It's never been this explicit, Brian, on any of the other examples so far. It's really explicit.
But he's getting confident, Nathan, because when he was over on your channel over here, he got his ass handed to him and was shown to be a liar, but he focused on how you spoke to Emma and how you spoke to SE Montreal, and SE Montreal focused on how you spoke to him, and they focused on all the nonsense instead of focusing on what happened with Bev. And so he got a load of support. So now his confidence is up. And now he thinks he can just say anything he wants and the audience will follow him. And he's right, they are following him in droves. In droves.
More power to him. Yeah. You know, I mean, the people we talk about jumping out the frying pan and into the fire when they've found that they've been deceived and that their gurus weren't what they thought. So what do? Go find a different guru. You're like, yeah. Do you really want to make that mistake again? Now, in the same way as the people who found out that they were not on a sphere and went, oh my God, I've been lied to, and it felt like horrendous. They initially braced against it, couldn't believe it, needed to double check and question it, right? But after a prolonged period, they figured out, yeah, I have actually been lied to. So when it push comes to shove, they just jump into another different boat with a different captain that's doing the exact same thing. And when they're shown, like we've shown Bev, to be a complete charlatan and liar, they just do the same thing. They double down on it. Oh, well, he couldn't possibly be deceiving me. Like, wow, they just fall into the same old routine. And Bev knows how to exploit that, clearly. Like, okay. Yeah, more power to them. You know, if you want this guru to lie to you, more power to you.
3 years. So, the correct statement is modus tollens. If P, then Q. Not Q, therefore not P. Very simple. So QE starts his statement with if the Earth is a sphere with a radius 3959 miles, brackets, P. That's the if P. So the P statement is the Earth is a sphere with a radius 3959 miles.
Why did he miss off the if? Other than missing off the if, yeah, you can read.
Exactly.
That's the P statement. Then Q. Right, now the then Q should be a consequent of that initial statement. He puts then horizon distance measurements must be no more than 1.225 times the square root of observer's height in feet, brackets Q. It's a bit of a mouthful, and I'm not so sure the actual consequent relationship.
Says it in brackets. Why didn't you read what was in brackets? See, curve calculations? Not sure. Maybe if you read the next part of the statement, you'd be clear about what it was talking about. Because it's just a direct claim from the Earth curve maths. Sphere edge horizon at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, as per Earth curve calculations. It says it.
Is held within that. But that's by the by. We don't really need to go into that because...
No, don't need to. It's put in brackets. You just didn't read it. So I take it back. No, you can't read.
There is a bigger glaring mistake. If this other mistake hadn't have been put in there, then we would be dealing with the antecedent consequent question. But since we don't have to. So, QE then says, not Q. Horizon distance greater than 9.14 miles, therefore not P. Now this, and whether you can notice this or see it, not P. And he says equals, Earth is not a sphere. Now, can everybody see the P statement? If P, then Q. Not Q, therefore not P.
If everybody can see the statement, you've just told them not to look at it and ignore it.
So the therefore not P should be the P statement at the beginning. But here he's got therefore not P equals Earth is not a sphere and a lot of exclamation marks.
So P statement, if Earth is a sphere, radius 3959, P. If you violate that precondition of sphere Earth, then Earth's not a sphere. Seems pretty straightforward to me.
Can anybody see the problem?
When they're not looking at it and you've told them not to assess
I can
it.
see.
I'm pretty sure they won't, given you've told them not to assess it. Go on, whoever that was.
Yeah, I can see the problem. The problem is they don't know why the 3959 doesn't need to be in there because they don't understand the latitude and longitude grid. Yet these people constantly talk about surveying. They don't understand the origins of the latitude and longitude grid because if they addressed that, they'd have to address the elevation angle, something they don't want to do, obviously. So they don't understand the latitude and longitude grid. So they think the QE should have put in, so not P, Earth is not a sphere of radius 3959 miles. Not understanding that once you debunk your initial claim of measurement of that 3959, you debunk the sphere end off. It's not like it's possibly a sphere of a different radius. It can't be. Because the radius is all, their radius, something that these people don't want to address, is all back engineered from flat Earth elevation angles to Polaris. So they don't understand that, and they don't want to address any of that. So they think that QE made a logical inconsistency when he didn't put in the 3959 in the not P statement, because they don't understand the heliocentric model.
But Bev does understand this. This is why he's been deemed and labelled a proven liar. Because we asked, or I specifically asked him, if he understood about angle measurements to Polaris and their significance in mapping. And he said no. He later then affirmed, no, I don't appreciate that how that's of any relevance or importance. And then 10th Man stepped up to say, you specifically detailed to me about your angle to Polaris giving you latitude. Bev had told that to 10th Man and affirmed it to him proactively, meaning he's a liar. Because understanding this, which he definitely did, undermines his claim proof sees that he uses for a flat Earth when he denies that it's flat. Makes no sense, but that's what he does. Presumably part of his gaslighting routine. Well, in this instance, he would have to appreciate how the derivation of those lines on a globe Earth must match with a radius of 3959 for Earth to be a sphere. As soon as you violate it, that's it, game over. The geometry's broken. Can't make a claim of a sphere Earth radius 3959 because it's not a sphere Earth. So his logical statement makes perfect sense. You're violating the geometry in the Q statement. Reiterating that it's not a 3959 radius makes sod all difference if that's all it can be in the claim. Exactly as is the case. Wouldn't ever match the latitude lines Bev lied about.
There are two problems.
Well, let's try and keep this simple. The first one first, right? I
heard the guy say there was two problems. Did anybody else hear him?
Yeah.
Why aren't we hearing him? What's going on?
Probably will it soon. I don't know.
The fact that his therefore not P isn't the actual P statement.
Earth the sphere, radius 3959 is the statement because it is the claim.
If everybody can see that. Now, do you want to make allowances for Santa to be able to...
Sorry, if you added on Earth is not a sphere, radius 3959, how would this in any way change the debunking of the P statement in the first instance? How does it in any way change if you add on the radius value? Makes absolutely no difference if you put it in with the radius value or without. You could even take it out from the first P statement. If Earth is a sphere, then every distance to horizon can be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. You don't have to put in the radius value. For completeness, John's put it in. Wowee! But you're saying because he hasn't put it in at the end when you debunk an Earth sphere radius 3959, he didn't put the value in again. Who cares?
Well, at the start, you would have to put the value in to make the claim of the 1.2. But at the end, it's not necessary if you understand if you understand the model and the claims being made about it, it's completely unnecessary to put it in at the end. But these people don't understand that.
Right.
And just so for the audience knows, if you listen back to this, it's his Monday stream from this week, which would be Boxing Day in the UK for anyone in the UK. He started off talking about Santa and going through how Santa, this, that, and the other thing. I'm not going to say much about it because kids are listening. But he started comparing beliefs, let's just say, and how we have beliefs and children have beliefs and blah, blah, blah. And that was his angle at the start.
More gaslighting. In other words, if you believe in this, you are as child. They're pathetic.
Yeah, he brought lies into it, how it's okay to lie about one thing, and if then you start accepting that lie, then it's okay to lie about this other thing and accepting that lie. Basically making it the whole Black Swan situation to be just kind of a lie.
Be able to get down the chimney? Because that's what you're doing here.
No, it isn't. Far from it.
If you allow this to go, you're making allowances for an argumentation form that just is false.
Why? Because it's comparable to Santa? No, it isn't false. not having the radius value strapped onto the end, Earth not a sphere, doesn't in any way invalidate this statement. And you haven't demonstrated that it invalidates it. But the other guy said there was 2 reasons it was wrong. We've had Bev's because it's like Santa. Shite. Are we going to do the other guy?
He's, if P, then Q, not Q, therefore not P. It's one of the 6.
Sorry, all it's done is repeat the logical consistency after saying it's like Santa. Pointing out that, it misses off the mathematical value of the radius Earth sphere has at the end. That's it. So it's now back into slowly saying the modus tollens, logical consistency.
Simplest forms of argumentation.
Yeah, we heard all this, Stick Brain. We've heard it all. You went through this in the preamble.
And
one critique there. He's wording this as if it's a bad form of argumentation. So modus tollens is a formal argument. Right? So if the premises are true, then the conclusion follows of a necessity. However, he seems to be critiquing the conclusion, not the form, but he keeps saying this is a bad form of argumentation. Well, it's not. At best, he's critiquing that there's an error in the conclusion. So rationally, what he needs to do, instead of keep harping on this as if there's some major bad thing happening, he needs to state one thing and one thing only, what the conclusion should be, right? And if it's the case that the end goal is to disprove the Earth is a sphere, he needs to alter the conclusion, maybe by adding another piece of logic to get to that end. Now, if he doesn't do any of that ever in any of these critiques, then he's just churning water. For what reason is beyond me.
Poison in the well.
Now,
He did qualify. Just,
there you go.
He did the first part. You said he should qualify what the end statement should be. In other words, if you're saying that the conclusion of not P is wrong, tell us what not P should be. Well, according to him, it should be identical to the original P statement in the logical consistency. Therefore, Earth not a sphere radius 3959 is his critique. And my response, okay, so if he put not a sphere radius 3959, what difference would it make to the conclusion? Answer, none. Doesn't make any difference.
Yeah, there seems to be a sentence missing in his thing, which would be like let's say, for instance, he says that, okay, so you get to your end, Earth is not a sphere of radius 3959, right? You then qualify it again with a statement from within the claim you're critiquing. So within the heliocentric model, the Earth must have this radius to be a sphere in the model. Therefore, I've disproven the radius. Therefore, I've disproven it's a sphere in the heliocentric paradigm. I mean, that would be something that Bev could say that would actually lend credence to where he's going with this. So far, it just seems like just open-ended critique for no reason.
Well, he has a purpose, and his purpose is to actually add to it. But he doesn't so much add to it as in add his own modus tollens in. That's all to come. And that's the most funny part.
Yes.
Within this formulation, the original P statement has changed.
No, it hasn't. It hasn't changed. You're saying it doesn't have 3959 at the end of it. That's not a change. You could call it an omission. It's not a change.
There's a magic trick just been performed.
No, there's no magic trick being performed. Earth not being a sphere is prefaced on the notion that it is a geometrically measured sphere at radius 3959. That's the premise of it being a sphere. And Brian's pointed it out 3 times already. It doesn't need 3959 at the end of the conclusion because it's necessitated by the sphere Earth claim. If you understood it, you'd realise why it's not necessary. But you're claiming because it's not there, it's a magic trick now? No, definitely not.
Within a modus tollens. This is a fallacy. This is what you literally call a fallacy inbuilt into...
Sorry, what, it's called a fallacy inbuilt. Is that the official title of the fallacy? The fallacy inbuilt? What's the name of this fallacy?
To a modus tollens logical statement.
A fallacy built into the modus tollens logical statement. If I look that up, will I find the definition of what you're about to bullshit us with? A logical inconsistency, aka fallacy, has a title. If it's true, which fallacy is this?
He's contradicting himself because he's saying that there's a fallacy built into a logical statement. So it can't be logical. It can't be a logical statement if there's a fallacy inbuilt into it, besides them not being able to name the fallacy.
Exactly. And
it's a contradiction in words.
Exactly, and AI's pointed out there's nothing wrong with the form here. He keeps labouring on how the form's right, and after claiming it's not right with an example from Santa Claus, he then went on to detail the form in its logical consistency over and over again.
Now, we have a thing that we stated quite a long time ago. When QE was here and he was starting up his War Duck, thanks Turn Up, if anybody doesn't know, Turn Up, he was the guy that designed the War Duck, the goose that's getting cooked this Christmas. This actual statement, the Black Swan that QE made up 3 years ago, has got a massive fallacy inbuilt into it. His P statement at the conclusion, the not P, isn't the same P statement within the if statement right at the very beginning.
Yeah, so you're
That's
saying
incorrect.
So it's the same. It's Earth, not a sphere, because the statement at the beginning is if Earth is a sphere. Obviously, it's the contrapositive of that. It's not going to be identical because you're proving the contrapositive of the original statement when it fails.
It's not the same.
Yeah, because the original statement is if Earth is a sphere. So demonstrating the logical consistency wrong within modus tollens leads you to confirm the contrapositive. Earth not a sphere. So was this long pause for dramatic effect, Bev?
Everyone can see that. Go on, sorry, go on.
This fallacy is called fallacy of misplaced concreteness.
Sorry, you think the misplaced concreteness fallacy, that's reification, shit for brains? You know, it's how, bang, there I am with the correction for this dickhead. No. Misplaced concreteness is reification. Mistaking that which isn't real for that which is physical. Yeah? Like me saying, yeah, I had to lie down on the freedom. What do you mean? Well, I just lay on it. I lay on a big bed of freedom. No, freedom's a concept. Yeah, and you can lie on it physically. That's the fallacy of misplaced concreteness, otherwise known as a reification fallacy. This is not a fucking reification fallacy, whoever spoke just now. Maybe if you were here in front of me telling me that this is the misplaced concreteness fallacy, and I told you were a fucking retard, you'd focus on me calling you a fucking retard rather than your absolute idiotic and incorrect assertion that misplacing, according to you, a 3959 value from a contrapositive conclusion in modus tollens is somehow a reification fallacy. No, we understand what fallacious reasoning is and can label it accurately. Whoever that was, sit down, shut up, don't pretend to be intelligent by labelling it the fallacy of misplaced concreteness. It isn't. This is not a reification fallacy.
Paper is the name of that guy. Paper.
Stupid idiot. Paper. Sit down. Shut the fuck up. You have no idea what fallacy this is because it isn't one. Rattling off some vague idea of what a reification fallacy is in descriptive terms isn't going to make this a reification fallacy. Dumbo.
Concreteness. Because in the first statement, we have is radius and number. And number is not a shape.
Are you having me on?
Yeah.
The original peace statement is the globe Earth claim that we physically stand on a sphere radius 3959, but you're going to claim we are guilty of reification when we show how that is not the case. This shows how that isn't the case. How the reification of a 3959 sphere Earth is not true. It couldn't be further from a reification fallacy. My God, this guy's thick.
Reification.
It's like anti-reification, did you say?
Yeah, it's a debunking of a reification.
Yeah. This guy's thick as shit. Paper, sit down, shut up.
So, Earth being not a sphere is not in question.
It's not in question, even though it's the positive assertion in the peace statement. Not in question. It's the basis of this logical consistency. This guy is so fucking thick. That's the kind of person. The only guy speaking up, if he's that thick, how thick are the rest of the panel? Yeah? That's why you've got them all being completely brainwashed with Bev's gaslighting. The only guy willing to speak up is thick as shit. What does that say for the rest of them?
Well, if you look at the original peace statement, if Earth's a sphere, then it's with a radius of XYZ, right? The point is that if Earth is a sphere, that is the claim. The radius, right, would be if you were to try and reify that into reality, would be a consistent geometric horizon. We're debunking the consistent geometric horizon as shown, because we're showing that the horizon is not a geometric location, but only an optical phenomenon, and not a geometric location, because it doesn't have a consistent placement based on your observer height. It moves, it can be closer or further from you based on your observer height. That you can't base a distance to the horizon off of your observer height, which is the original globe claim from Al-Biruni time, based off of what Al-Biruni supposedly did, which is a dip angle to a geometric horizon. We're debunking the geometric horizon that has to be there if Earth is a geometric sphere. That's the point. And they don't understand, they're focusing on 3959. 3959 is only the official claimed radius, because it has to be that, as we spoke about earlier, due to the celestials. But the debunking is not of the 3959, it's of the consistency of the horizon. That's what we're debunking, that it's not a consistent position. It doesn't hold a consistent position based on anyone's observer height. It's never in a consistent position. It moves closer and further from an observer. And they can do that over the course of half an hour. That's what we're debunking, which is a necessity for the Earth to geometrically be a sphere.
They sound like ballers to me.
Well, the ballers actually would have a bit more, would probably have a little bit more understanding of fallacy, even though they use it a lot, I think.
In Q, we have questioned radius only. So, and QE is omitting completely this, what was crucial in Q statement. So
omitting it, other than he's got in brackets that it's specifically in regards to the Earth curve mathematics. Therefore, it's the Earth curve geometry, the measurement of Earth according to their sphere rhetoric. That's set in stone. It's how much they say it measures. And he's even put the value at 3959. But these people are so gaslit that they believe Bev when they say, no, he hasn't done it. It's a magic trick. No, it's written down in brackets, Earth curve calculations. Right, but he didn't read that bit, did he? Bloody hell. This guy now thinks he didn't qualify it. Go ahead, whoever that was. Just more want to add to me.
his conclusion, he just omitted that. This part, this number of radius, is crucial part in P. And it is completely absent in last conclusion.
In the statement and bracketized at the end, Earth curve mathematics, which is what you're debunking with this modus tollens. Thick.
And he is saying something about sphere. And this Q is not about shape. So this is fallacy of misplaced.
Not about a sphere shape when it's a radius that's spherical radius value, not about a shape. The fuck are you talking about?
Misplaced concreteness.
No, that's reification, Dumbo.
In first place.
Yep.
And of course...
Who said yep? Another shit for brains idiot from Bev's panel.
There is other... I think I explained that to Paige last time, but I can repeat that later.
Yeah. Well, I'd say, like we've looked into this, we've looked into logic and we've looked into the trivium, we've found words. Now, one of those words, one of the best words we ever found was a paralogism. A para, meaning, you know, side by side, and a logism, a logic. Paralogism. Now, a paralogism comes around in many different ways. But the difference between a paralogism and a faulty conclusion is that it becomes accepted as a faulty conclusion. The faulty conclusion, however you derive a faulty conclusion out of your logical statement, it doesn't matter how that occurs within the form of a paralogism. The paralogism just means it becomes accepted as a truth.
So what, because you've described what a paralogism is and you think that makes this example incorrect? No, it doesn't. It doesn't change the outcome, even if we fulfill your desire to have the value at the end of the conclusion. It's not necessary, you don't understand that, and it makes no difference if it is there. So, this is more bullshitting, using a description of a paralogism to debunk modus tollens. This is just garbage. I need a coffee. Can you talk amongst yourselves for a couple of minutes? You there, Brian?
Yeah, no bother.
Hey, Brian, it sounds like he's trying to impress people. This guy's I can't take it anymore.
Well, he is. What it's going to, I don't want to give it away for the people listening, but he's going to go where he's really going to go, which is showing that he doesn't understand the argument at all, and how he's going to replace it with a supposedly better argument, and he's going to supposedly use modus tollens. So that's where he's going to. It's a poisoning the well. It's a character assassination of the Black Swan and of Quantum Eraser, an attempt to do that, to then add in his own supposed logic and logical process, for the debunking of something. Like, they think that we're debunking a shape to insert another shape. This is something that it's crazy what's going on. They don't understand what's being debunked, I don't think, in the Black Swan. They don't understand. That'll become clear.
Or he does, and he wants to undermine it. He sees its strength and realises that all he can do is offer us affirmation that won't benefit him. So why do it? It's much better to knock him down, because then everything he says is stronger. So why bother strengthening your opponent's argument if he sees us as his opponent or competition? Weaken it, regardless of if it's good or not.
Yeah, I didn't want to say that, though, and the reason I didn't want to say that is I didn't want to say that was his possible, or that is his possible objective, simply because I want to point out that from what he's displaying, it would seem that he doesn't understand this. So the only way to disprove that is to prove that he does understand it, which would then debunk what he was doing. It would mean that it would become very obvious then.
Well, did we not do that, though? When we showed that he had to deny his understanding of elevation angle measurements to Polaris, which he most assuredly did, does that not show malicious intent?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. But in this instance, the only way for him to prove that he does understand the argument is to prove that he does understand the Black Swan argument, which then debunks all the rubbish he's talking about with it. If you understand what I mean. So rather than me making the claim that he was being,
In this instance, there's no direct connection. It's not like we're there tying him down to a lie. So yeah, I get you.
And that's exactly what we've got here. Nathan Oakley and QE have been parroting this for 3 years now, and nobody has either been able to question it or they've never acknowledged this. But there is a massive fallacy built into this one particular statement.
Which fallacy is that going to be? Is it the fallacy of misplaced concretedness?
And because of the paralogism that's built into it,
is paralogism a fallacy?
Nobody can question it. So,
other than the open door policy that we invite people for the last 3 straight years to come in and challenge it, and people have come in and challenged it, and we have put it to people who didn't know about it so that they could challenge it. So he's basically just gaslighting his audience to say, we allow people to challenge stuff, and look, we're challenging stuff. Over there, no challenge allowed. No, we've got a fucking open door policy. You're allowed to come in and challenge whatever you like. If you think the Black Swan's wrong, which many did, and immediately came up with their rebuttal of refraction. Notice that their refraction rebuttal didn't involve taking apart flaws that don't exist in the logical consistency. They worked within the parameters of the logical consistency because they accepted it based on the fact that it's real and couldn't be disproven. So they therefore had to work around the logical consistency and say refraction, ultimately also undoing their geometry. Not that they realised, but they didn't just say, it's a reification fallacy. It's a paralogism. No, notice the only fuckwit saying this is Bev and his clown on the right, who stutters his way around claiming it's a reification fallacy because it doesn't have a 3959 value in the conclusion. That makes it a reification fallacy, does it, dumb fuck? Both of these idiots are just idiots. There's no other way to describe it.
So nobody can even question the...
So why did they say refraction? If no one was ever capable of questioning this, why did they come up with refraction as an argument? Why am I taking Ruhif's pants down and slapping him right in the nuts? Yeah? When he asks Brian about whether or not he can have a bent line to a bent earth in geometric terms, and I go and get him the GCSE definition of a tangent and ask him how my fucking balls taste. Yeah, you must have interest. If you're listening, Ruhif, I had such a good laugh today. Reading your comments to Brian was epic. It's taken Ruhif 3 years to get this. What do you mean I can't bend the line to the bent curved earth? No, fuckwit, you've got a tangent. It's geometry. Yeah? Now, that's not because he's saying it's a paralogism. It's because he's contemplating the awful reality of having a bent line to the horizon when it's claimed to be a measurable point in their geometric earth curve maths, stating radius 3959. Of course, we all understand that intrinsic and necessary value to give you the tangent is the penny dropping with Ruhif and me teabagging him with it. But what's that you say no one can challenge it? Au contraire, Ruhif has challenged it and then spent 3 years fundamentally misunderstanding his requirement for a tangent point horizon for his 3959 radius Earth. Yeah? There's no flaws in that. Yeah? There's globe Earth claimants like Ruhif who have challenged this getting teabagged with it when they finally realise they can't bend a tangent. Yeah? Meanwhile, over on Bev's Gaslit channel, they're all nodding along and claiming this is reification. My God.
The form of the argument based on...
If P, then Q, not Q, therefore not P. That's the form of the argument. You went through it really slowly after talking about Santa.
Around the fact that there is a fallacy inbuilt in...
What's the fallacy called? Is it the fallacy of misplaced concretedness? You nodded when he said that. You went, yeah. I asked who the fucktard was that affirmed him in his claim of a reification. Notice I can do it too, Bev. Yeah, it's just justified when I do it. Yeah? Because you are a Mongol and you do need it slowing down. You've affirmed this is reification. No. Do you want to look up the definition of a reification fallacy? The fallacy of misplaced concretedness? Hypothesization? You want to claim that's this? Au contraire, shit for brains. You haven't labelled it that fallacy, though, have you? Your sidekick shit for brains has, and you've agreed. No, this is not reification, Dumbo. You went through the form of it and labelled it correctly as modus tollens. But now because your sidekick shit for brains has said it's the fallacy of misplaced concretedness, it is that fallacy. Anybody on Bev's panel not picking up on this, it's because you're thick. And not in an advanced state of understanding fallacy, being gaslit by a Dumbo.
To it. Nobody's allowed to try and fix...
What, other than Ruif? With reifications of a bent tangent? Yeah, no, mate. Everyone's prepared to challenge this and have for 3 straight years. You're doing it right now.
This. I'll point out the ideas that...
Other than me doing it right now, I'm the only one allowed to criticise. Now, you fucking self-indulgent tosser. Plenty of people have attacked this, you stupid idiot.
That's wrong.
Is this crazy?
Yeah, it's just him gaslighting his fellow panel members that he's God and he's the only person of any significance and he's the only one actually challenging this. In their minds, they're like, yeah, Bev's the only one to challenge the Black Swan. Because they've been brainwashed and gaslit by their guru that he's the only one challenging this. Because that's what he's just told you. If you're nodding along while he's saying this, then that's because you're being gaslit.
He's a cult leader. That's the only way to describe him.
He's a what?
Cult leader. That is exactly what happens with the cult. The leader says stuff and everyone agrees.
We all understand in the cult of Bev that Bev's the only one that's challenged this because we, as the outsiders, forbade anybody to challenge this until along came Bev. And now we proceed to challenge this reification fallacy. Right, Bev? No, definitely not. Unless you're one of Bev's panel members, and then you'll definitely be nodding along.
Though it was to go the way it was. Like Papers just said, the first statement is, if the Earth is a sphere with radius 3959. The next statement is, then horizon distance. What?
Horizon distance measurement no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. It's like you're abbreviating the logical consistency now, Bev. First, you missed out the bracketized, detailed explanation of where the maths comes from, so no one was in any doubt. You missed that out. Now you're missing out half of the Q statement. Why? It's called gaslighting. Yeah, just break it up a little bit, and then the audience says, oh, what? That didn't make any sense. Yeah, because he only read out 1/10 of the statement this time. After going through the statements very clear as if P, then Q, not Q, therefore not P. But then he just reads out half of a Q statement and asks you, what? How does half a Q statement make sense? It's pathetic.
No.
No, it's not the full statement, is it, Bev?
A sphere or a circle having a radius doesn't equate to a horizon distance
of 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet as laid down in the globe Earth maths. Yeah, that's our claim. That's what we're proving, Bev. That's right. It doesn't prove that. That's correct. It even said it in brackets. You just failed to read it.
No. He's actually claiming, Nathan, that the horizon, what he's, in a roundabout way, what he's claiming is the horizon wouldn't need to be at a geometric distance if we were standing on a sphere. Like, he doesn't understand where that claim comes from. That's purely a mathematical claim. You can go to Metabunk now, put in an observer height, and it will give you the geometric horizon distance for that observer height, based on a sphere of 3959 miles.
Yes. And in an attempt to gaslight his panel and audience, he did not read part of the modus tollens in brackets after moaning about part of it being missing. Yeah, he missed this bit out after telling his panel not to look at it, explicitly directing them not to look. and then he missed out the bracketized section he's now complaining about. Yeah, Earth curve calculations are what lay it out in the rest of the statement with 1.2 times the square root of the observer site in feet. Also excluded when he asked, what? Yeah, he just gaslighting you, telling you not to look at something and then missing out key parts of it whilst claiming we're missing out key parts that aren't necessary. Yeah, reading out the statement in full is necessary. Not for Bev. What, but is it going to be unreasonable that I criticise him for the exact same thing? Like literally missing out massive chunks of the statement and then asking his panel what after telling them not to look at it? What, so they don't see him not qualifying as QE did that this is specifically in relation to Earth curve mathematics when you don't read out the horizon will be at 1.2 times the square root of the observer site in feet? Yet you just miss out the entire bit. Isn't that what you're criticising QE for? Yeah, pot calling the kettle back as he gaslights his panel.
Willfully deceiving them.
Say again?
Hey Nathan, have you ever argued
I said he's willfully deceiving them.
have you ever argued the calculations of the spin of the Earth with these guys?
Plenty, yes. Why?
I'm just wondering because I would really love to know the rebuttal to where once you get to a 0.24 and they try to make up for that, just magically it just so happens to make up. Sorry?
I'll give you the rebuttal. The rebuttal is that there is no evidence or experience that we're going to have of the Earth rotating, with the exception of the sun. Well, the moon is included somewhat, and the stars. So basically, their rebuttal is that we would experience the exact same things that we would be experiencing on a stationary Earth with the sky moving. That's their rebuttal.
Yeah, but isn't it weird though that they can take the 4 minutes lost per day to make up for a 6 months later that they will still be facing the sun? Have you ever thought about that? How it just so magically,
but they actually do more than that. They actually add a little bit more. They change around the maths a little bit because they have to claim that there is no consistency in the sky, that the cycles we see is only because of very big distances and parallax and different things. So what they have to claim is that this time next year, this exact time next year, that all the astrological constellations will be very close to where they were last year, but slightly different. That's what they're trying to claim. Yeah. But in reality, they'll be exactly where they were last year because they have to deny cycles without denying cycles.
Yeah, which is weird because is there not in their motto an ecliptic orbitation? So orbit. So wouldn't that in itself throw off this perfect circle that they've calculated for? That's what I don't get with these guys.
Yeah, but see the globe out rotates. Yeah, there's a low. See, they try and have everything covered, but the globe out rotates at a sidereal rate, which is slightly different from the solar rate.
The sidereal rate gives you a 4 minute less day.
Yeah, but if you look into those calculations and you go through them, you will find out that they actually mess with that the actual sidereal rate. They mess with it very slightly. I mean,
that's why we have a leap year to make up for it.
Yeah, but
right?
The 4 minutes. Yeah, but the 4 minutes is only to explain how the astrological constellations will be back at the exact same place they were last year at this very moment. But they change it around a little bit to make them to have moved very, very small amount, but not noticeable.
Right, it's a failure. It's a convention that they're using akin to time that has its limitations in the maths. And the corrections are only necessary because of the limitation of how they've devised their 12-hour day and night cycle into what we actually observe in the sun. Well, the limitation leaves them with an error.
Yep. No. Absolutely. I'm under the understanding that logically, if I took a ball and started spinning it on a weather vane that's pointing towards west,
and it was spinning, and by the time it got to the weather vane where it says, south, that my left side of the ball would be facing towards the sun. And then by the time you spin back to where it gets to the east side position, now the back side of this ball will be facing towards the sun. But I think that whole argument is like one of those things where it just makes too much sense, and you either have to hand wave that and just be like, no, it makes sense because we have sidereal, blah blah blah. Like this is where we're always facing towards the sun, but logically, we're not facing towards the sun at 6 months later. You know what I mean? Like, or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm an idiot.
If you understand their tilt claim, that tilt doesn't ever change. So that's how they explain it. So in the northern summer, the Tropic of Cancer is tilted towards their sun, and in the southern summer, the Tropic of Capricorn is tilted more towards the sun, or tilted more in that direction. So the 23.4 degree tilt is never changed. Doesn't tilt back the other way around that. That tilt stays equal at all times. So that's how they.
No, I know, but I would say that's a fallacy.
They've explained it all out.
Wrong.
You're not going to.
No, I get what you're saying, but I would say that is wrong because all they're doing is just saying that this is what is, and this is how we are able to have the noon sun in the skyline throughout the year, but it's just not. It just doesn't make sense when you think of it logically that the sun is in their model, the earth is spinning, and then 3 months later it's still so you're on America, okay, and it takes you 24 hours. If you clocked it at noon, 24 hours later you're once again facing the sun. 24 hours later you're once again facing the sun. Now that circular rotation that there's doing is not accounting for you shifting around a ball to where you're now facing technically away from the sun, and your left face is to the sun as you're spinning in their or vice versa. Maybe it's your right face. I don't know. However you want to believe their ball. It doesn't matter at this point. But I'm just saying, once you are spinning, and every 24 hours, every day, but this is why they have the sidereal, circulation, because it makes up for the logic that, hold up, you would be facing away from the sun 6 months later. Your noon would now be midnight because you are no longer looking at the sun, but they have sidereal. It just so happens to be 4 minutes times the 6 months equals 12 hours. So 12 hours later, thus, you would fast forward your progress to your noon on 6 months later is still facing the sun. And to me, that's total fucking bullshit. Makes no sense.
Well,
Apocryphon, you did it again, Apocryphon.
Hold on. Hold on, Brian. Go ahead, D Rose.
Now I was saying Apocryphon, you did it again. Me and him was breaking down all the fallacies, exposing it the other day. Remember on the after show, he and I was talking, and just by what he just explained, not only is it not logical, but it's illogical even when it's explained with any type of logistics. What he said just now was like, if the apple fell from the tree and the ant ran 7 miles, but then backstepped 3 steps while he said hello to the cricket and then ran back to the sun, it was just a total stupidity what he said. But they rationalize it. The Globers rationalize it. And I want to say another thing. All of these guys, like the one you had on the video earlier, who had the audacity to exclude or to label a flat earth proponent. I don't care if it's Faulkner, Danley, DeGrasse, all of them. The one thing that differentiates us from them is that we're not cowards Matter of fact, we initiate the battle, the challenge. These cowards started the talk behind your back, cancel and decline invites, never want to be around us, dare not be on Nathan FED, for one. Not even talking about the little minions that's running around here. Talking about the main people who they got on their mainstream, who get all of the Google search and Wikipedia searches when you try to search Flat Earth or anything that has to do with NASA. They don't have the courage. I don't think they have the intellectual integrity or capacity to come on this show or to allow someone like Nathan, Eric DeBay, and whoever else y'all consider one of the top-notch ones who are on there that don't really, that don't carry a butter knife, but carry a sword, basically, chopping down the heliocentric concepts. They always seem to have something to say behind the backs, but never come on to the stage or accept the challenge on the stage to have a legitimate, fair, monitored debate so that everyone can realize the minions, the other so-called experts, the people on the fence that don't know or don't care what the difference of the earth is, for all them to hear what Nathan is doing as he dissects these things. So instead, these mainstream media platforms, they censor it or they do everything to gaslight it, block it or whatever, so that everybody can stay in the same perpetual stagnated stupidity or oblivion knowledge of what the truth is. And it's getting quite frustrating for me. Huh?
They're getting locked into a narrative that doesn't change.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, it never changes. And the powers of the heliocentric team, side is doing that. They're doing that. That's the only thing they can do. But what they don't want to do is bring their top-notch, scholastic, pseudoscience, whatever people to say, you know what, we had enough. We had enough. We're going to go on this show and we're going to end this fall. They will never dare do that because they're cowards. They're liars. Liars are cowards. Liars lie because they're cowardice. The purpose of lying is because
they just know that they lose. It makes no sense for them to lose. They know. But the whole purpose of
the whole purpose of lying is because you're scared of the repercussions or ramifications of telling the truth. That's the fact of the matter is. And
they feel they're wrong. They're just not
going
ready
somewhere.
to
Just let him get to the end of his rant.
I'm just really getting,
Arwin, please just let him.
I'm just really getting so.
Go ahead, D Rose.
No, I appreciate what they're saying. I understand interjections. At least they're not interrupting, saying something, rebuttal and stupid. I mean, I get it, but I know you guys have probably grown some gray hairs, seriously, because it's like now I know why Moses went from a nice brunette to a snow white hair, trying to convince those dumbass Israel, dude. Yeah. Well, you know what I'm saying? You break your neck. You're doing it all for the good of humanity, and all you do is get backlash from the dum-dums, and then you got the people who are the so-called experts coming back at you. And it gets frustrating, and that's why when it comes to resilience, we are the resilient ones. We are the ones that are we have more to stand on, which is truth, and I guess that's what gives us the power and the resilience to keep on doing it. But just keep doing it. We just got to keep grinding because there's an army of dum-dums and an army of deceitful people out there that's, for some reason, will die to keep pushing this lie. And we just have to keep... Yeah.
Okay, hold on, whoever that was. Hold on, everyone. Stop, everyone. Hold on. How many more fucking times? Hold on, please. Arwin, who was trying to get a word in while but yielded, let him go first. Go ahead. Fucking typical Arwin.
Oh, sorry, me first. Okay, yeah, now I'm just totally agreeing with this guy. He's really tuned in, and right, the whole thing about the crazy ball religion is that they all effectively keep themselves ignorant, but they still have that intuition that they know that if they're going to approach us and really try to master it, they will be defeated in their big dream. They know that about it. They just don't latch onto that cognitively. That's what I'm detecting continually, right? So they compartmentalize what they unleash on their intellect and what they just keep in the shadows with their intuition. And they know how to do it. And they've seen other people do it so many times that it's like this unspoken discipline that they all do. It's part of their way. And I, as Baldwin, also apply that, right? Now, of course, I also am bound by honesty. So I will never try to lie about it, including to myself, which is the most important factor. Because, yeah, all these, part of the discipline is to keep fooling yourself, keep depriving a part of you from information with your intuition to keep yourself in the dark and to keep the dream stuck, but therefore consistent. Yeah. And on the long run, consistency does provide more grasp on it, right? But it doesn't adapt to reality that way, because through what we learn, reality to us, to our perception, changes. But they don't undergo that change because they're always locking it into that repeated, endless nonsense, which it is to us that keep on growing. It's just they keep repeating the same nonsense and they never listen. We've got hundreds of arguments against them and they just never adapt to anything, right? Anyway.
I just want to jump in real quick, if I could.
Sure.
D Rose, I thank you for your kind words, and you're right on point. And I just feel like there's certain people in this community, as we've been in this community for years now, and only certain people can even grasp the analogies and the ideas and we point out things that don't make sense in this heliocentrism model, and there's only certain people though that can actually understand what's being told and said. And then you have a whole nother side of it to where, we like to call them ballers, but it's not just them either. It's just there's even just other people besides that they just still don't get it. And at this point, I just feel like there's this there's this chasm that there are those that see it and those that don't. And maybe, maybe they're never going to.
And with that, I'm going to say another huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, another massive thank you to all of you for tuning in, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a member, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!